I don't believe in just when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. We have to acknowledge when things suck. Steve Jobs said it beautifully.
You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.
Being able to help people get out of their own way. That's what I was put on earth to do. We look at the human brain. When you ask people in a functional MRI to see which parts of the brain light up, when you ask them about, think about a significant moment in your life, and they see the parts of the brain that light up. What's interesting is when they look at people when they are imagining events that take place in the future, they see that same common core network light up. They've seen this even in basketball, with free throw shooting. I think when we optimize our own energy and we feel focused, everything else falls into place. We can make better decisions. We can be more resilient when things go against us. We can be more resilient when people say something that we might have taken a different way. All those things. If we're tired, if we're worn down, if we're burned out, all those things become harder. If your goal is to lose weight and I put a plate of fresh baked chocolate chip cookies on your kitchen counter every single day, you can eat the cookies. Your environment set you up to fail there. It's miraculous that you have built a business of this scale without necessarily even being around a lot of business owners that have built businesses to this scale. And so I've challenged you to spend some time with some business owners that are 10x the size of you.
All right, everybody, welcome to episode 8, Making with Purpose podcast. If you notice, we got a special guest here, Dr. K. Cue the round of applause for Dr. K. And of course, we get John and Marc here as well. And we're excited about this one because Dr. K, you've been a big part of our lives for going on 6 years. And we met you around COVID time, 2020. And you've been a vital part, in our lives personally, but not only that, our businesses as well. And when I say our business, I specifically mean our team members. And Dr. K is our emotional and health coach that comes in on a weekly basis and meets with our team members. And he's actually one of the most valued perks that we offer. So congratulations on that. We have a high opt-in rate that I'm sure we'll talk about with our team members, but Dr. K is here with us today.
Yeah, and as to what Marc said, Dr. K is in competition with free lunches as far as the most popular perk. So that's saying something when it comes to perks, when you're competing with free lunches. So, but yeah, I'm super excited to have Dr. K on our first episode with the guest.
Guest episode, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's even more exciting that it's someone that we just didn't go out there and just grabbed any random person that is popular. But Dr. K is someone that has been part of our team that we've seen success with. I'm sure you could write a case study in a book on what we have learned. And I think one of the coolest parts about the experience with Dr. K for me has been the fact that MakerFlo that we have not needed to have an HR department in the 5 years that we've been here. And the reason is Dr. K, because as I like to say that, having an HR department and HR a lot of times is putting Band-Aids on emotional or, professional or personal problems. Whereas having Dr. K is really reaching in and, making sure that we're actually reaching the true problem and solving it from the inside instead of banding the outside. So I'm super excited to introduce Dr. K. We've introduced you sort of softly on lives and things like that, but this is kind of your official introduction to everyone out there that you're part of our team. So let's get it started and let's introduce Dr. K to the world.
Let's do it. Dr. K?
Glad to be here. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah. For those of you watching, make sure you guys leave comments and feedback on this podcast. This is going to be just a natural conversation and really a lot of value that Dr. K is going to bring to you guys. So if you guys like this, be sure to let us know in the comments. We can bring Dr. K back on for future topics and stuff like that. But this one specifically, we're going to talk about setting goals, how to maintain those goals, and really setting yourself up for success in 2026.
Yeah, so I exactly, and this whole podcast is going to be about mindset and what mindset to go into, 2026. Because in the beginning of the year, we all have our resolutions. In the beginning of the year, we all have these goals, and we want to strive for this and strive for that. But the thing is, within a couple of weeks, all that fizzles out, right? And our goal for this podcast is to really get into that mindset that allows you to incrementally achieve the goals that you want to achieve for 2026. And the reason why Dr. K is here is not only because it's such a popular perk, is because Dr. K, I love your backstory. I love sort of the story of why you did this, and I think it plays a lot into mindset. I think it plays a lot into goal setting, and because you played the long game as far as you being here, right? You used to do something else. So I don't know if you want to take a few minutes and really talk to us about kind of who is Dr. K, where did Dr. K come from, and why is Dr. K?
Yeah, I'd love to. So rewind back to 2011. I remember one night very vividly, and I read about this in my book as well. There's one night I'm standing at the window, this wall-to-wall, floor-to-ceiling window, 30th floor, brand new skyrise building. And it was the first time I'd ever lived by myself, first apartment that I didn't have any roommates. I was in my late 20s, a few years into my corporate career on Wall Street. It was not the most fun time to be in that industry, but definitely did everything that I could to move myself up in my career, become as valuable as I could be, especially when, unfortunately, a lot of friends and colleagues were getting laid off during that time, just trying to survive, right? Just trying to make a living, just trying to survive. But I responded the only way I know how. Be a perfectionist, be a people pleaser, say yes to everybody, do everything as perfectly as possible. And I was rewarded for it. And that night I'm standing at that window just reflecting on, here I am. First time living by myself. I was blessed to be able to pay off my undergraduate student loans. I was able to pay off my parents' credit card debt, which felt really great. I was giving more to charity than I ever thought I could in my late 20s. And I'm standing there, I'm looking out, and then the light shifts just a little, and I start seeing my reflection in the window. And I'm looking at the bags under my eyes and my severely overweight body and all of these things that just made me go, I hate that guy. And there's just no amount of success that I could have that allowed me to feel good about myself. And so I did, again, the only thing I knew how: work harder, be a perfectionist, say yes to everybody. And I just found that no matter how much I achieved, I was just never any happier. And eventually I hit rock bottom, and I started having these questions like, would anyone miss me if I was gone? And that was when I realized I have to do something different. And, fortunately for me, rock bottom is a beautiful place in that if you're willing to allow, it's the time that we'll say yes to anything, right? It's the time that we're willing to change the way we do things, change the way we think about things, is a topic for today, right? To maybe see things from a different angle. And so I was just ready to accept a different way of living, thinking, all those things. And around that time, I saw my sister after a 3-month span. And in that 3 months, she had lost 30 pounds. Her acne had cleared up. She looked vibrant and incredible. And I was just at that point to say, okay, whatever you did, I'm going to do. And so I was like, you look incredible. What'd you do? She goes, I've just been eating this raw food, plant-based diet. I was like, what is that? Just fresh fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, just as they're found from the earth. And I was like, this sounds crazy. Okay, show me how to do this. Because again, you're just willing to try anything. Well, I realized one thing. I was always that anytime I do a diet or an exercise program, I was like cold turkey. Just day one, I'm going to do all in. I did, P90X, Insanity. I don't know if you guys remember those. So I would just cold turkey. I'd do a couple in a row, whatever it was. And I had some success. I'd plateau. This time I was like, you know what? I'm just going to gradually change the way I eat, just see what happens. Because I realized something. My best ideas in life had gotten me to that moment. If we're at a place where we're not happy about something, whether it's professionally, whether it's personally, we have to look at it from a different lens, because doing the same things that got us there is not going to get us any different results. And so I stopped stepping on the scale every day for accountability or whatever else. I just changed everything. 3 weeks in, I'm feeling great. I was like, I got to see what's going on. I look down at the scale and I see the lowest weight that I'd seen in 3 years, or sorry, my adult life, really. And so I realized in that moment, and this was the epiphany that I hope everybody listening here today can take away. But this physiological reaction through my body where it was like all of a sudden, wait a second, what if the body I wanted, what's that really about? The confidence, what's that really about? The confidence is really about finding the right woman in my life to find and get married. What if the right life, the life that I wanted, what if all of this was possible and the only one holding me back was me? Right? And when you start to realize, wait a second, yes, are there factors in our life that are outside of our control? Absolutely. But there's so much more that's within our control than we ever give ourselves credit for. Let's start with that. Because if you start with that, all of a sudden, things around you start to change. Maybe the people start to change. The opportunities start to change. Maybe you find a new friend or another business to partner with or whatever it is. All these things start to change when we start to elevate how we think and how we show up in the world. And none of that would have happened had I not hit rock bottom to then have to make those changes. And now I just decided at that point, going back to that time, like, man, I got to make this my career. So I left my career on Wall Street. It is to this day the dumbest financial decision I've ever made and absolutely the right choice. So I went to medical school in my early 30s, moved out here to Arizona to do that. Did meet the love of my life in medical school. And after graduating, really sought out to solve this challenge of burnout and emotional health, especially for business owners, whether we're the solopreneur or all the way up to, larger companies. How do we be emotionally healthy? Because ultimately, if we've got counseling as one avenue with psychotherapy, or if we've got psychiatry and medication, but my journey to emotional health came through food, and there's got to be a different avenue. And so that was the basis of why I created the framework of the 5 pillars of emotional health. Your psychology, the lens through which we see the world, which we're going to talk about more today. Relationships, who we spend our time with, vitally impacts how we think, act, and feel. The nutrition, because our gut health and our emotional health are intricately connected. Number 4 is sleep. It's the first thing to go when we're busy, but if you want to be more emotionally resilient and think more clearly, sleep is vital. And then number 5, body movement. Motion dictates emotion. And so if we can generally level up those 5 areas, we are more in a position to be able to handle the things that come up in life and think more clearly and act more clearly and decisively and think outside of the frame of reference that we currently have so that we can achieve the things that we want, whether it's in business and therefore our personal life, all of those things.
Wow.
We're done.
Yeah,
that was it. No, I think what you just did, right, from everything you explained, basically goes to show everybody how important mindset is. Because you basically you have so much clarity in who you are, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve, what your goal is. I know what you just gave it all to us, right? And I think our big goal for 2026 is clarity. Clarity through mindset is what this podcast is about. And what you just did, if I asked makers, hey, what's your why? Why are you doing this? What's your this? What's your that? Most would fumble. They wouldn't know. But I did have an epiphany as Dr. K was talking. You mentioned rock bottom. And I think we hear that quite a bit. Rock bottom, right? And for some reason, when you said rock bottom and I didn't know what to do and you were just latching onto whatever was around you and, you're just kind of swinging your arms, and I feel like in our industry, rock bottom is when a business is trying to make sales. And the rock bottom, if today you're reducing your prices to make a sale, is rock bottom for a business. Mm-hmm. Because you don't know your why. You don't know why you're selling that product. You don't know why you're doing this, why you're doing that. And all you're doing now is, hey, I have bills. I need to pay something off. And the only way I can pay that off is by selling something. And now you're just kind of flailing your arms and you're like, okay, well, if this is for 20, I'm going to sell it for 19. And if that's for 19, I'm going to sell it for 18. And if that's 18, maybe I just go to 15. And to me, like when you were saying that, I'm like, man, that would be like if you're in this industry, that would be like rock bottom. Like you have no idea why you're doing it. Now you're just trying to make a buck and survive, right? Mm-hmm. And then what you mentioned, because again, this to me is like such a mindset change, is that when you hit that rock bottom, you have 2 decisions. That's it. Either you're just gonna keep hitting that rock bottom and you're gonna fizzle out, or you make a mindset change to make some changes to get out of that rock bottom. And those are the only two options you really have, right?
Yeah. And something else to think about too, that survival to lower your prices just to sell inventory and pay off a bill. Okay, look, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right? This is not an overall, I think we are in a society where everything is just got to be, it's this or that, it's black or white, this is the one way to do it, the 3 best ways to do that. Everything's nuanced, so take this with a grain of salt. May or may not apply to you. Just think about the psychological implication, right? If you're selling something that generally didn't take a lot of your personal insight and creativity and whatnot to create, and you sell it, okay, that's one thing. We're talking about your makers here, right? This is your heart, your creativity, your soul went into something that you are now selling. And now we devalue that by trying to get it off the shelves. What message does that send to ourselves? Like, am I a $20 tumbler maker or a $15 tumbler maker, right? And it's we just have to be very careful. Like, yes, sometimes it's going to happen. You got to do what you got to do. But you always want to create as much structure in your life and your business as possible to remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing and what value you bring to the world. So I remember one of the conversations I had with one of the team members here. This is a few years ago, but his role was largely taking orders and packing the boxes to ship them out. And I asked him, so how do you view your job here? And he said, well, this is a moment of clarity. It was really beautiful. He said, I know, like if I worked at Amazon, it'd be functionally somewhat similar or whatever, but here it's different. He's like, I don't see it as I'm packing and shipping pens and tumblers. I think about the person on the other side who maybe this is the burned out nurse who's trying to make this her career, or the starting entrepreneur that's trying to provide for their family. And he's like, I think about that person, and that gives me a lot of happiness, right? And that is incredibly powerful. So I think it's one of those things too, that even when we go through the struggles, if we remember why we do this in the first place, yes, we enjoy it. We enjoy being makers. In my case, I enjoy the coaching that I get to do, right? But think about the difference that we get to make for the people on the other side. And so when we remember that, we're going to get through the struggles and we're going to start making the right decisions. Because ultimately, if we just keep focusing on the problem that's right in front of us, we're just going to put this fire out, and then there's another one over there, and then you put that fire out, and then before you know it, you're just like, I'm too tired. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. I think in that example, that's beautiful. And again, you're talking about somebody anonymously, somebody part of the team that MakerFlo has. So again, just to reiterate, Dr. K has been doing this with MakerFlo and the MakerFlo team for 5 years. So it's not some random coach coming into the podcast today talking about it arbitrarily. This is actually by experience, 5 years working internally with MakerFlo, within our industry and with MakerFlo team members and Mark and I. So your knowledge base comes from that, and your data comes from that. So I think that's really beautiful. And I think having that mindset would really help that team member as well go through their day, is kind of what you're saying. But I think the bigger thing that I just want to put out there, and then let's get into their segments, because I'm excited about these segments. But I think the biggest thing about the mindset and really truly understanding something that's not tangible is, I think a lot of it, they seem to be abstract concepts, right? It's like, well, yeah, you're telling me like that I need to be positive, or yeah, you're telling me, but from your example, it's more practical than you might think, meaning that it might be an abstract concept to you as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, or maker today, but if you implement it, there's a lot of practicality about it. I don't know if you want to talk about that for 30 seconds.
Yeah, sometimes people get advice of like, oh, just be more positive, right? And I'm very much, this is just my approach, I'm very much not that way. I don't believe in just, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I think we have to acknowledge when things suck. You know, sometimes life is going to throw us these circumstances that we just have to deal with it. And I think to just look at the positive right away without actually processing what's going on, I don't think that does us any service, because at the end of the day, if you think back to those periods in our life where we learned the most impactful things, did they come from great, pleasurable, happy things, or did they come from pain? Our greatest lessons come from pain. And so when we're going through a tough time, even though, yes, we're trying to just survive it, I get it. But in that time, ask yourself, what is this situation allowing me to do that I would not be able to do otherwise? Right? In every painful situation, there is an opportunity to learn something later that you can then apply in your own life, impart that onto somebody else. And those are the ones that change us the most. And so it is very practical in a way to take some of those challenges and then just say, okay, well, I'm going through it right now. It's like a storm. It'll come and go, right? When you're in the middle of a rainstorm that's lasting a long time, you just feel like, oh, it's just the way it is today, or it feels like it's going to last forever. But the clouds always pass, and our emotions are exactly the same way. Everything comes and goes. So just know, okay, I'm in it right now. How do I use this? Maybe that's not clear. Maybe we're going through something that's like, this is senseless. I don't even know how to explain it. Just know, Steve Jobs said it beautifully. I think it was at a commencement address at Stanford. I can't remember which year. But he said that it was something to the effect of, we can't connect the dots in life looking forward. We can only connect them looking backward. So we just have to hope that at some point in the future, the dots connect. Right? You won't be able to make sense of it right now, but know that it will make sense at one time, and just go with that. And the question that I posed there, what is the situation allowing me to do that I wouldn't be able to do otherwise, is a way to just facilitate making that happen.
Wow, that's profound.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got me going on that one. I'm like connecting the dots.
Yeah, let's get into our first segment, and the segment's about identity. And so, what kind of got me is, you mentioned you were working on Wall Street, right? And I think your identity had a total change, right? And your identity at Wall Street was make as much money as you can, thinking that would bring happiness, but instead it was, you were really unhappy. You were overweight. You weren't happy where life was going. And so that kind of that stuck with me there. And I want to dive a little bit deeper on identity, and how does that tie into like the strategy of your life and of your purpose? And how did you really just change that around by identifying where you wanted to go and then creating more of your purpose in life?
It's never a linear path, but I do remember one moment that hit me. See, when I stood on that scale that day, that was this catalyst to go, okay, wherever this is going, I'm here for it. I'm just going to release expectation, really important. I'm going to release expectation and just see how things unfold. And as the weeks and months passed and I kept losing weight, people started noticing. I'd just give people some little advice when they asked and whatnot. And yeah, people lost weight, but I saw type 2 diabetes and chronic migraines and chronic joint pain, all this stuff go away. And that's what was like, this feels good. How do I feel more good? Right. And we're going to talk a little bit later about energy. But that was an energy that I wanted to live in more days than not. Right. And so that was what led me to going down the medical school route. But I remember so the movers had taken my boxes of stuff. They were on a truck to move it all to Arizona. And I just had my carry-on. I'm on a plane in Newark Airport. And I've got this window seat to my right, and the plane is taking off. And I'm looking out the window, and you ever have those moments in your life where you're turning the page to a new chapter in the book of your life, right? It was a huge chapter change. Here I'm moving from New Jersey to worked in New York, lived in New Jersey. I'm going to move to Arizona. And as the plane's taking off and I'm literally watching my old life fly away from me, I had this realization. in Arizona, nobody knows me. My sister was here. That was it. Nobody knows me. If there was ever a chance to reinvent who I was, this was it. And I had this epiphany. And if you're watching today, you can do the same exercise, right? I took out a sheet of paper and I started answering the question, okay, wait, if nobody knows me, this is a chance to reinvent myself. Who does Dr. K of the future look like? I wasn't Dr. K at that time, right? I was about to go to medical school. I was just Karthik, right? But this guy, Dr. K, that I'm going to form in the future, what is he like? You know, what are his habits, his routines? What does he eat? What does he not eat? Who does he spend time with? Who does he not spend time with? You know, what hobbies and activities does he have? What kind of leader is he? What kind of books does he read? Oh, I don't even read any books. I guess I should start reading books. You know, and all of these things started, and I started writing down what this ideal version of myself would look like somewhere in the future. And when I landed in Arizona, I had that, and I was like, this is the blueprint for who I want to become. Well, how do you become who you want to become? You start doing some of those things today. So I'm like, okay, well, let me get an Audible account because I know I'm not going to sit and read a book. So I got an Audible account, and that's when I started, you know, reading more nonfiction books and things like that. Or even I was never a good. I never thought I was a good leader. I was terrified of speaking in front of people, which might be hard to believe today, but it was true. I was terrified of, even back in school, answering a question in front of class or a class presentation, work presentations. It just terrified me. But I said, okay, well, but if I looked at Dr. K's resume, I mean, clearly it would say he was like president of his student government in medical school, right? So like, okay, great. I'm going to go run for president of, mind you, I had never had a leadership position in my whole life, unless you count the 1 year that I was president of chess club in high school. There was nobody else in chess club. So
by the way, chess club is super cutthroat. Oh, there was nobody there?
Well, yeah, there was nobody there.
Oh.
So
you played yourself.
I had
that is a thing.
I recruited
chess, right?
a couple people, but yeah, that was the only leadership position I ever had. And here I was going to be in charge of the whole student body. And so, and I won, so that scared me. But it was what I knew I had to do to step into this vision of who I wanted to be. We don't grow unless we step out of our comfort zone. Right. And so we need to have that one level up. And the first step of that is just believing that we can become that person. If you think about it, we were all born babies, right? As a baby, the only instincts we have are to cry and to feed. Everything else we've learned. So if one person can learn it, why can't I? Now, yes, we all have our God-given gifts and things like that. I don't think I'm ever going to, become an NBA player like I once wanted to as a kid, but
we'll never know if you don't try.
I guess so, you know, but at the same time, it's like, how do we leverage who we are and to become the best version of that and just get out of our own way for the rest of it,
Yeah. So how does somebody like re-identify themselves that doesn't get that opportunity to change the whole scenery, to move? You had the opportunity to move from New Jersey to Arizona. So mentally you're like, oh, nobody knows me, you said, right? And I can change into this whole new person. But let's say somebody out there listening is like, well, I don't have that opportunity, Dr. K, to move into a different city or a different town. What can I do mentally to recreate that and that re-identify myself?
Yeah. I think a big aspect of that is surrounding yourself with different people. Because when you start putting yourself in different circles where the people there might see you as the person that you're striving to become, then that feedback helps us become that person. If we show up as somebody who's very self-critical, who's very unsure of ourselves, everything else, people feed off of that and they treat us like that. Right. And so we're all just beings who reflect each other. Right. And so if we want to see ourselves a different way, one easy way is to start to put ourselves around people that kind of get it, that see. So for instance, the makers in your community, not that I'm giving you, okay, here I am giving you more work to do in the future, but imagine like MakerFlo Con or something, right? Where you could
God.
bring, sorry. Here's an idea. Don't let them off the hook. Anyway, but imagine if you could bring your incredible community together where, in our daily lives, we might not be around people that get what we do. Being a business owner is hard enough, right? In any capacity. Like the people in our lives that don't understand the stresses of being a business owner, that the income is variable, that the bills always seem to go up and never down, and or like the stress of payroll and all those things. Like it's a challenge, but the moment you're around other business owners who get it, who are also striving to grow and become better, now you're like, okay, I can become who I'm striving to be because I'm around those people who are also on that same journey. So I think finding people that are going on that journey is vital.
So I think that's beautiful, and I actually have about 8 questions for you on this topic, but we're gonna have to do a whole another podcast for this. But I do have an important one, especially on identity, because Mark and I changed MakerFlo's identity about 6 months ago. So we have been part of this exercise, right? And we're seeing the difference. However, me just saying that versus us giving like a clear pathway for folks is super important, and it's small steps, but we realize that it's a mindset change first before you can make the identity change. Because if you don't believe it, it's not going to happen, right? So one question I do have, because we ran into this, is something that I learned that was a little bit new, but it's called a identity trap. Can we talk, because in our industry, there's a lot of groups, there's a lot of influencers, there's a lot of, we do have a couple of conferences, and we do have the access and ability to watch these influencers online, meet them in person, things like that. And at the same time, we're in these public groups where folks are identifying themselves as, hey, my business is good, my business is bad, my business is great, I make profit at $9. Why do you sell it at $9? That's too cheap. I can sell it at $35, and there's these different businesses, business sizes, and all these things going on, right? It's a mix of different things. But I feel like sometimes, the makers think that everyone is the same, right? Like, oh my God, this guy's selling it for $15 and he's happy, but that this guy's selling for $25 and he's not, and everyone feels like it's all like an even space, and you're comparing yourself, it's like to the Joneses, right? But talk to me a little bit about identity trap, because there's so much noise out there. And what is identity trap? Like, what if you fall in an identity trap, and what's a good way that you formulate your own identity without too much noise as well? Because what we realized is that, we fell in an identity trap, and our identity trap was China. We fell in this trap that we had to follow exactly what their pricing was, how they were working, how they were dealing with things, and MakerFlo's identity always almost turned into we're the cheapest, and we weren't, and like we were out there like building these products from ground up and this and that, and we had to re-identify ourselves. Be like, no, that's not our identity. We just fell in this trap because we hit rock bottom, and we're kind of working our way back out. But tell me how a maker might be in an identity trap, maybe even how to identify if you're trapped in an identity. How do you bust out of that and build your own identity?
I think the first step is, do you find yourself comparing yourself to other people, other businesses? A lot. You're always going to look a little bit, right? Just to see, hey, what ideas? But there's a difference between trying to compare notes and feeling like, oh man, I should do that.
And copying,
I should
right?
do that.
Copying comes to my mind.
Yeah,
You're comparing
copying.
and you're copying.
And you're copying. Exactly. That's a really good distinction. So I think if you catch yourself doing that, you want to be careful, because it's just plain economics, right? If you are selling something for this and that person's selling something for something equivalent, right? And one person's trying to make more of a sale than another. Think about the gas stations, right? Those are like 2 gas stations, 3 gas stations on a given corner. Yeah. Their prices are always just about the same, except the one that maybe has like more amenities inside, right? Because they're hoping that people will come in and get the hot dog as well, but whatever. But you get a tank of gas here or there, it's going to be the same. So that's a pure commodity. At that point, what are people going to choose? You're going to go to the sign that has the lowest number. And so if what you're making, if you're equating it to somebody else's, and that person lowers their price, now you've got to lower your price. And they see that you lowered your price, so they lower their price. And then eventually there's nowhere to lower the price and still make a living. and then you're burned out, right? And so instead, I think this is the challenge. We all need language to basically create a mental shortcut for what something means. So if I say the word and, we all generally have the same understanding of what the word and means. Simply means you're bringing up two things and they're coming together in some capacity. We have some understanding of what that means. But then, think about the word influencer, right? Creator, maker. It's a very broad term. Like if I asked every single one who identifies as that to say what it means, they will come up with something uniquely different. And yet, we narrow it down to one word. So again, nobody's wrong for doing this. I can go on a whole side note of why the brain takes these shortcuts. It's to preserve energy. We're made for nature. Energy is scarce in nature. So we are all wired to spend as little energy as possible. And we create these shortcuts, language and words helping do that. But we have to understand the limitations of it, because the moment you start to create something that is more nuanced, that, okay, yeah, I make these type of tumblers with this type of branding for small businesses in this niche or whatever it is, right? And then the more you, with this kind of flair, and I really like to get to know my customers because they're sick of their ChatGPT logos, and so we come up with something that's a little bit more. And the more you can articulate what you bring to the table that's unique, now you're an N of one, right? Now you can't be copied. Now, does that mean that you will or won't be the cheapest? Who knows? That you kind of have to. But I actually see this in my own community of physicians all the time, the cash practice physicians. The first thing that coming out of, they're starting out their practice, they're thinking, okay, new patient consult, what do they charge? And I'm like, that's the worst place to start, because all you're going to do is to say, well, that person's been in practice 10 years and they charge this, so I'm brand new, so I got to charge this. And the reality is, for the person that you really want to help, can you help them? Yes. Charge what you need to charge to make the business work and make a living, because you are worth it. You're worth it. So the moment we fall into a trap to say, this is who I am, all these additional connotations come in. Well, if I'm this, then I can only charge this. I have to do it this way. I have to. Says who? You've got, your community is among the most creative human beings on earth. Why do we have to follow the same path of how to run a business, right? We can be creative in how we run a business too, how we define ourselves. I think that creativity can expand to so many more things. And the moment we can figure out, well, who am I outside of this term, then that's when we can start to really benefit from really getting to carve our own path rather than just getting shoved in a box.
Yeah. When we're talking about identity traps, would you say it's a good or a bad thing if somebody's setting goals that are all dollar based? They're all based on revenue or sales, and just getting into that trap, right? Of like, I want to make this much money. I want to get this much sales. Like, is that a good or a bad thing to kind of set your goals in that kind of method?
I think you always have to have some kind of, you're a business owner, the lifeblood of a business is cash flow.
Yeah.
You have to have something in that realm. Can't be the only thing though.
Yeah.
If that's the only thing, then you're going to do whatever you need to do to make that money. And well, there's other ways. If my goal was to make the most money, I never would have gone to medical school and spent off all my savings and gone into a ton of, between my wife's also a naturopathic physician. And so since we met in medical school, between the two of us, we're over $500,000 in medical school debt. Dumb decision. Absolutely. Like, not the right thing to do as far as like, if I wanted to make the most money, but I want to make the most impact. And now if I can make the most impact and make a living doing it, then I can slowly start chipping away at that thing, and it'll be gone one day. And so I think you do need to have a financial goal. Otherwise you're just going to, if you don't have a financial goal, you may not make it in business, and ultimately you got to stay in the game. But if that's the only goal, then you might compromise why you got into it in the first place. So you want to have goals that are, and even with revenue, right? you can get to that same revenue in a number of ways. I could work with 15 different clients, individuals, or I could work with one company with 15 people or 20 people, right? And so there's multiple ways to get to that thing. So it doesn't have to be just a revenue goal. But even when you just look at the number side, yes, revenue, how many new customers are you looking for in a given year? How many leads do you need in order to get to that many customers to make that kind of revenue? I think you want to have those. And on the personal side, what kind of freedom do you want to create for you and your family as a result of the business? Where do you want to be as a human being at the end of this year? I think those are things that are really important to look at too, because if you can maximize both of them, and it's absolutely possible, you maximize both of them, then you're just in a better place. If you focus too much on one or the other, it's difficult to get to where you want to go.
Cool. I don't know if you were lecturing, teaching us, or what you were doing, but I got goosebumps here. That's why I'm not even speaking, because I'm intaking it all. Like, we're always learning something new with Dr. K, right? So let's round this out a little bit. I would like to ask you, if in our podcast, I really want to make sure we get to a point. So with the identity first, I would love for you to kind of just give us like 3 top points that you feel like once everyone's like done watching this podcast or this segment, if they were to start to re-identify themselves, what are like the top 2, top 3, top 4, whatever comes to your mind? How should they start and go about this? And how should they possibly measure success if they're doing it like, hey, this, whether it's just like a feeling like this feels right, or would you say that there's like, okay, I did this, check mark, or if that even exists? But at least I would love for someone to finish this podcast and be like, okay, I want to start re-identifying. I know you gave your plan example, and maybe reiterate that if that's it. But how would you start, and how do you go about it?
Well, I think I'm going to rewind one step.
Okay.
Without going into the full truth cycle explanation, but just understand this: we're always looking for new results in life, right? New results in business. So it's easy to look at, I want this new result, so I'm going to create the goals, set the goals to reach that result. Great. Well, what gives us new results? We take new actions to get to new results. That makes sense. Okay. Which actually, yeah, it makes sense. But a lot of people don't even do that part, right? You just hope. Hope is not a strategy. We have to do something to get to that new result. So, okay, then what actions do I have to take to get to that new outcome that I'm looking for? And a lot of times people will just focus on that. Okay, I need to do more social media. I need to do more email marketing. I need to do more, right, now there's this AI SEO thing. I need to do that. And eventually you're like, I got 15,000 things to do, and it's just all overwhelming. And it's somewhere along the way I'm supposed to, make dinner for my kids. And like, how's that going to happen, right? So one way to think about it is this. Actually, it's very appropriate timing. We're recording this on, early in January. And think about it. Every year, new year, new me. This is the year I'm going to get fit, and I'm going to work out. I'm going to eat better every single day. And we set these really lofty goals for ourselves. And about a week in, like we are now, the gyms get a little thinner, everything else. And 97% of people fail on their New Year's resolutions. At least that's self-reported. It might be more than that, because who's going to say anyway? But so clearly, knowing what I need to do is not enough to get to the outcome that we want. So my whole premise is, let's go one step prior to that. What determines what we do? That's identity, who we see ourselves to be, right? The truth is the lens through which we see the world. If I believe that life is a struggle, that I'm not a good business owner, that nobody wants to buy my stuff, if we believe these things, then the actions that we take are going to be consistent with that. So imagine you're at a trade show or something like that, and you've got your items in front of you, and somebody walks up, and they just look at what you've created, and they go, "That is freaking cool." They pick it up, they look at it, they think about it, whatever else. Now, you could respond in 2 ways, and then they ask you, "So, how much is this?" And if you were to say, "Oh, it's $25, but you know what? I could give it to you for $15." You could do that approach, or you could go "Oh, I'm so glad you like it. Yeah, I really, that is one of my favorite pieces." It's $25. That is who you see yourself to be. I don't know if my stuff is worth $25 leads to I gave a discount with the person not even asking for it.
Yeah.
Leads to the outcome. I'm not making any money, right? And then I'm not making any money already then reinforces that identity of I'm not a good business owner. Whereas if we start to shift who we see ourselves to be and go, okay, I am worth it. I do create things that people love, and I'm going to see myself in a brighter light this year, leads to, okay, I'm going to take different actions in how I show up. Now you start to get new results and you go, hey, okay, now I'm reinforcing who I want. So that's the cycle of how you want to start to get new results. You start with the new identity. So how do you measure that that's appreciably changing? It's a slow process. Just remember one thing. We didn't get here overnight. I'm 42 years old. Like, I didn't get here overnight, right? Things take time to develop into who we are. Doesn't mean that it's, in my case, going to take 42 years to unwind some bad habit that I have, but it does mean that I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden I feel great about myself all the time, every day, no matter what. But there's a couple things that you can look at. How we handle adversity is a big indicator. So both toward ourselves in terms of how we talk, as well as how much other things come to us. So I have a client who he owns a pool construction company, and really a wonderful man. And he's got a teenage daughter who, unfortunately, because of the divorce a couple years prior, and she's going through her own struggles, but she lashes out at him a few times. And every time that would happen, especially not this past Christmas, the Christmas before, she said some things to him that really devastated him and sent him down a very dark path. Thankfully, I was working with him at that time, so we were able to kind of pull him out of that and whatnot. And over the course of this past year, we were working on elements of reestablishing an identity of who he wants to be. Well, unfortunately, she had a similar incident at Christmas this year. And yes, it still hurt initially, but he tells me, like, yeah, I heard it. The words hurt, but then I just realized, wait, no, this isn't about me. This is about what she's going through. I'm not a bad father. I just need to show up with love and help, see how I can help her in any way possible. And he was able to, he said, because of the tools that we had worked on together, he was able to apply that and go, yeah, I'm showing up as a different man in a similar circumstance. So that is one of the things that you can look at to go, okay, when somebody returned an item or something like that might have thrown us for a loop before, and then we go, okay, a few months later you're doing this work, and a few months later you go, you know what? Had this very situation happened 6 months, and we've talked about situations like this too in your business too. Like, had this thing happened 2 years ago, how would you have handled it versus how you handled it today? Doesn't make today any better, easier. You're still working through the thing. But when you can go, you know what? I would have been a wreck 2 years ago. I would have been a wreck 5 years ago if this happened. That's a sign of growth, right? And those are the things you want to start to pay attention to, and, give yourself some credit. Like, hey, all right, I'm making some progress. This is a good place to go.
Wow. Yeah. I just another short story. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that would be a way to measure. But I was telling Mark that last weekend there's a situation. I actually met with a potential customer that's requested almost 100,000 luggage tags from MakerFlo in 6 months. And the registration it's wild, because what you're saying and what we've been saying, it proves that your mindset exercises have worked on us. And I didn't realize
it's happening like subconsciously.
It just happened. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so baffled, because what you just said, I just understood that because I was telling Dylan, I don't know what just happened. So we were at this meeting and there were 100, he was requesting a quote for 100,000. And I was trying to gauge, like, okay, what kind of quality product do you want? We really strive on quality. And he was like, just give me your cheapest option. And I guess subconsciously, I told him, well, if you're looking for the cheapest option, I don't want to even bid it.
Nice.
And yeah, and I told him that if I can't add value like the way we like to add value, and if you're asking me to like bid on something that is going to be a subpar product because you want the cheapest, I would rather not bid it. And believe it or not, now I'm getting it. The customer or the potential customer, I literally told him, like, if that's the case, I don't want to bid it. He said, no, I want you to bid it. And I'm like, I just literally told you, I don't care for your 100,000 units if it's like, if you're just gonna go for the cheapest, because I told him we can do it. You know, I can do it. I can make it cheaper than your other guy just because we go direct. But I'm like, that's not why I'm in this business. Like, I'm not doing this to give you junk, right? And I don't want to put my name on it or my business on it. And he responded to me and he said that, no, I still want you to bid it. And I kind of got up and I'm like, why do you still want me to bid it? I literally just told you I don't want like, I don't want to work with you, basically, right? But it almost, I think I understand. I had a bit of an epiphany now. I think the identity came through. He was like, hold on a second. Maybe he's going to give me a better product that it will work better for us. And he still wants me to bid it, right?
Well, think about this too, right? This really, for you listening here, this applies to you as well. Think about if I were to say, oh, you're in the market for a new car. Great. I'm a car salesman in this case, right? You're looking for a new car. What is the, I just need something to get it from point A to point B, cheapest car available. And I go, okay, perfect. I got the right one for you. This is my cheapest car available. It's only $500. What's going through your head?
It's going to be junk.
What's wrong with the car? Yeah. It's $500. That can't be right. You know? That's what we do when we underprice our products and services. If you were to say, okay, cheapest, I can get you 100,000 units for this, you're sending a message to yourself as well.
Right.
But you're also sending the message to that person to go like, but if the price is so low that you're like, wait, that can't be right. Oh, you're going to sell me this iPad and it's only $10? Like, does it even turn on? Yeah. You know? And so we have to be aware to not do that in our own thing. And so, like, this is something that I've actually used myself, and you, in a way, you did right there, and certainly, maybe if it comes up for any of you listening, if you know, like, this is the quality of work I want to do, right? This is who I am. I really don't want to be the cheapest one. I want to put my heart and soul into something and make it great. I want to work with that customer and really figure out what makes them tick and create something for them that they cannot get anywhere else, right? And if that's who you are, then yeah, somebody's going to, of course they're going to ask you for the cheapest. Nobody voluntarily wants to spend more money, right? So of course they're going to give me what's the cheapest. Well, the cheapest doesn't mean it's going to serve your needs all the time. So if you were to say something like, even similar to what you did there, John, something like, look, I understand that. I can certainly bid it. I probably won't be the cheapest,
right? But
I can promise you that if we're the right fit to work together, that we're going to do some extraordinary work together, right? Yeah. I do that even when I'm bidding for speaking engagements too at different conferences. I will say I might not be the cheapest speaker. I'm definitely not the most expensive speaker. I might not be the cheapest speaker that you'll find, but if there's any room in your budget and you want to go forward, I can promise you that your audience is going to get everything that they wanted and more.
Yeah. I feel like, John, you were really valuing like your core principles of
right.
of your identity.
Right.
And that was quality, and it was innovative products, and that was your identity, whether you knew it or not. And the customer was potentially seeing that identity. Right?
Well, I think he wanted a part of it.
Yeah, he's like, oh, there's something
hold
different
on, bid
here.
it still, you know, like, I want to be a part of this. Like,
but there's not always that customer that values that identity, right? And that might not be your customer. If they don't value your identities.
Well, and that you say that a lot, right? Yeah. And that was definitely in my mind when I was sitting there. I think I was telling myself, like, do I want to deal with this every time? Okay, the numbers are great. I mean, the quotation was only for 6 months.
Yeah.
So that could potentially be 200,000 to 250,000 units on one SKU.
Yeah.
So if they get 3-4 SKUs, you're talking about 500,000, 750,000 units. Those are big numbers, right?
Yeah.
But if I have to deal with that headache, be stressed out 24/7, like money's money, but like the mental, that'll eventually change my identity, increase my stress.
Don't let customers change your identity.
Yeah,
right?
There you
absolutely.
go. I
That's
love
the
that.
key right there.
Don't let
Instead, instead let your identity bring the right customer on.
Yeah, you stay
Bingo.
stay to your core.
Because think about it, if we compromise that, and then they do business with us, it's like, okay, you made the sale, but you still feel like crap for doing it.
Yeah, you're still looking in the mirror.
You're still looking in the mirror, going like, why did I do that? You know, nobody wins, and they probably got a subpar product than what they could have gotten from you. But the other thing too is by you basically saying no, it made him go, whoa, 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 whoa.
Why is this guy saying no to me? No one said no to me.
Nobody's ever said no to me before. Like it makes you more
desirable.
Exclusive. Like think about again, whether it's designer clothing or things like that. Like the reason the price tag is higher is because of the exclusivity. And I would say even, especially in the realm of creative work, because we're in a world where so much can be done now with AI, and that's only going to get more so, AI is going to be great for that low cost something. But you want something that is unique and to your values and everything else. Don't play in the price game, play in the value game, right? Because value psychologically, this is a little off topic here, but value psychologically, what does somebody value? Like, here, can I borrow your pen for a second? Okay. So, Mark, I'm happy to sell you this pen. What would you be willing to buy this pen for?
Like a couple bucks.
Couple bucks. Now, if I said this pen was the pen that Devin Booker used to sign his last contract, worth a little more than a couple bucks to you, right?
Yeah, probably a couple $100.
Yeah, there you go. So it's still the same pen. It still writes the same way, right? But that's the difference. There's psychologically value is a little different. Now, when you're solving a problem, there's okay, what does somebody really want? Okay, he wants 100,000 tags. So in his mind, that's his ideal state is I need 100,000 of these luggage tags. Okay, great. And that he wants that. He wants it to be good and likely that he will get to that outcome. If I hire the wrong company, they might be late. They might be subpar. I might have to go back and forth. I might have upset customers, my customers, all those things. So he wants a high likelihood that this will be what he's paying for. And he wants to spend as little time in the back and forth with you as possible and as little energy and headache in the back and forth as possible. If we can get them to the place that they want and the outcome with the products and services with a high likelihood and the least effort and pain, people will pay a little bit more for that. And then you don't have to compete on price anymore. And you stay consistent with who you are, your identity, your values. And when we do that, everything else falls into place. And to your point, you position yourself that way. Now that becomes your branding. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, I want to work with MakerFlo. I want to work with, as opposed to I'm just looking for the cheapest fill in the blank.
That's great.
Yeah, awesome. I love how our identity has changed and how we've been able to really, work on our identity and see a change even in MakerFlo, our business, our customers, the way folks have been ordering. It's been a massive, the exercises we've done with you have massively impacted us, and really knowing who we are has changed the way, like you kind of said, has changed the way we're talking to people, what the hits we're willing to take and the hits we're not willing to take. And I think more so the amount of times that I'm comfortable saying no. I think that's the one thing I'm most grateful for, is the ability to now say no, because I'm saying no because of what I believe in, and I'm not saying no because of being scared and being at rock bottom. So it gives me that motivation even more so that, hey, I'm not in rock bottom because I know who I am, what I am, and I have confidence that with this new identity, where I know that I'm not only servicing everyone around me to grow their business, but I know that I'm also doing good to myself, and that's a big thing. Be good, do good, spread good. Being good to oneself and others. And then showing that physically and actually doing it eventually spread goodness. So I feel like that identity is coming through full, and I'm definitely seeing the changes in the way we're doing business and what we're doing. So really grateful for that.
How do you set challenging goals that are also achievable? And like you mentioned earlier, a lot of these people, 97% or more, don't follow through with the goals they set as a new year. And you gave the example of the gym, going to the gym, but talk to us what kind of mindset and why are these things backfiring on people that set these goals? And how can you set yourself up for success by creating challenging but yet achievable goals?
It's vital because think about, generally we get a couple approaches to goal setting. It's like, okay, small, achievable, make sure it happens, you know, that kind of thing. If you go too small and too achievable, there's no excitement in it.
Yeah.
Right? If I say, okay, John, I'm setting a challenge for you. The goal is you're going to walk from here to that door. It's like, what, 10 feet, right? I want you to walk from here to that goal and you will achieve your goal for the day. You're going to be like, okay.
Done.
There's no value.
There's no value in that. There's nothing. But if I say, John, I want you to, you know, we're kind of in the southern end of Chandler, Phoenix. Like, I want you to run to North Phoenix by the end of the day. You'll be like, that's impossible. I can't do that, you know, based on the time and everything else. There's no way that's like, you know, that's a lot of miles. You're just like, that's not a goal I'm going to do. It's pointless. So if you get a goal that is too gentle, there's no excitement. If it's too aggressive, it's demotivating because nobody wants to try something and fail at it. Yeah, that's true. I mean, so the neuroscience research indicates that generally we want to maximize that. So anytime we achieve a goal, we get a little dopamine release. And so we want to maximize that dopamine release because it's challenging enough. It's like right outside of our comfort zone, but it's not so far outside that it's impossible. So generally the rule of thumb that I like to go by is, what's a goal that if you did it 100 times that you'd hit 85% of the time? So what's a goal that's aggressive enough that you're not 100% likely to get it, you're only 85% likely to get it, right? And that is just enough. It's kind of a sweet spot to go, okay, you're still gonna get some small wins along the way. Okay, for me to get to this goal, I need to hit this level, this level, this level. And maybe you hit level 1, level 2, but level 3 is a little bit harder. You're like, man, I can't seem to break through this. And then you try a different, let's say, promotion strategy, and it's like, oh, that worked. Okay, and then it was a delayed gratification, but eventually you hit that and you're able to move forward. And then let's say even after all that, at the end of the year, if you know, let's say you're making your revenue is 50,000 for this year, and your goal is like, okay, I'm going to double it. I'm going to get to 100 grand, right? But maybe realistically, it's like, oh, that's hard to double. Maybe I get 50% increase. So then you go to 75,000. 50% increase is still pretty aggressive. But let's say, I think 75 seems, I got a few things coming my way. I feel like that's maybe not, 100 is hard to get to, but then maybe you get to 85. Would you really be that upset? Right? Yeah. Like, yeah, if you've got an 85% chance to get to that goal that you set for yourself, that ultimately is kind of the sweet spot. It's not a hard and fast rule, but the principle is more, you want it to have some small and achievable steps so that you feel like you're growing and you have that dopamine release, but it's not so far away that it's like, that's impossible. There's no way I'm becoming $1 million business this year. It's not even worth putting that on the radar. So you want it to be something that you've got an 85% chance of hitting.
Yeah, I think it's important. I know when we do our business strategies and planning out for the year, we have a few big goals for the whole year, right? Okay, we want to achieve X, Y, and Z. But then we break that down as how are we going to achieve that by the quarter, right? Quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we break that down even by weekly, all the way down to daily and then hourly, right? And it's kind of like, and you don't have it all planned out for the whole year, right? But you have those big, beautiful goals, let's call it, for the year. And then you start mapping out your game plan for the quarter 1. Break that down. Where do we start first, John? Okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and get a big whiteboard and we have in our office and we break down these goals. But when you're able to check off something that's done, you do get that dopamine effect. Good. Like, let's go again. Yeah. Like, that was fun. Like, what's next? I really feel like you start getting momentum when you really have this game plan, map it out, use a whiteboard or maybe even like an Excel sheet and highlight it when it's done, and you really gain momentum that way.
Yeah, that sounds super aggressive. I mean, I think we had eventually at one point we were doing daily and even down to the hour because that's what some books said, but it wasn't working out for us. So we've been adjusting that. So I don't want everyone to be like, oh man, that's just so aggressive. And it's taking time. Like we're making it work for us. So right now where we have settled is we're getting 3 big goals between Mark and I. It has to be achieved no matter what happens by the end of the week. So basically I know that by the end of the year, I'm going to have at least 150 to 175 goals that we had weekly finished, which is incredible because we have about 85 other jobs we do. Right. So, but the 3 goals that we have, like we have to get done. So this coming Friday, there's 3 goals and Mark and I know what those 3 goals are because we have them written on our whiteboard.
What's nice is they're on the whiteboard. So they're visible to you, right? They're not just hidden. Like they're right there in front of you. You can see them every day.
Yeah. And we're going to check them off and we're going to keep them. So week to week, we can see, wow, look at these goals stack up. And I think that really reinforces the goal setting and the success as we see that, wow, we set the goals and we achieved them. And now it's literally physically piling up on your fridge or physically piling up in your workshop. You almost get that dopamine hit so often. You want to keep, and we never know. We might like 3. And we might go to 6 and be like, I think we could do 6. Let's do 6, And all of a sudden we have now become efficient. It's a lot of fun. And we've been doing, we're on to something. So yeah. I'm really excited about that for us this year. So again, we went from the hourly thing Mark was talking about to more like a weekly thing. And then we can achieve a lot of personal goals we have of ourselves, the bigger goals, and really get the company goals out of the way too. So that's kind of fun.
Well, what's nice with John and I is we have each other to hold each other accountable. But I would like to hear a little bit of your advice for somebody that's maybe a solo entrepreneur that just has themselves and they just are writing down their goals to themselves. And it's really, how do you hold yourself accountable, some self-accountability? Or are there any other strategies to have other people hold you accountable? What would you suggest?
Really the best way is having somebody else to share it with, because the moment we speak a goal into existence, then you're like, oh, I got to make this happen,
Yeah.
By the way, I can fall into that trap too. There's plenty of times where I'll be like, man, I got to do this. I got to do this. And I have to remind myself, wait, if I don't tell my wife, if I don't tell a friend, if I don't tell one of my advisors who I work with, that kind of thing, then it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because we're all busy. We're going to do all these other things. Our plate will get filled with something, whether it's work related or personal, like our plate will get filled. If we don't articulate it to somebody else, it's going to be a problem. And so it's also part of the reason I have, my group program for entrepreneurs, for solopreneurs and up, is that is a chance for, they're not just having me as the accountability person. It's, for them to jump in on the Zoom call each week and go, yeah, I didn't do that. It's a lot harder to. Very few times does that happen. And so, yeah, it really does help being able to speak it out loud to somebody else. Now, you guys are also in a unique position where, because you can have an accountability buddy to like, okay, well, it's New Year's, new me. I'm going to go to the gym every day. And, one day you get up, or you're going to go for a run every morning, and you get up and you look at each other and you're just like, you thinking what I'm thinking? You want to skip today? Oh, okay, great. You have to be careful with your accountability buddy, right? Because if your accountability buddy, you're both like, oh, we're supposed to go to that thing. We're so tired. I don't want to go to that event. And you just look at each other and you go like, should we just skip? And you go, okay, great. So you have to be careful. That's where it's useful. Not everybody can do this at all points, but at some point having somebody or a group that you can lean on to where they have your best interests at heart. And
I have a real story about that, and this is not even a lie. So, I've been in a constant battle with trying to lose weight over the years, and at one point I did have an accountability partner, and his name was also Mark, and it was not this Mark, right? It was another Mark.
Take me out of this.
Yeah. You weren't there. It was a long time ago, right? And so we decided like, hey, like, let's get in shape. Like, I think this was maybe like in high school or maybe middle school, high school. And so we started going on walks in the morning. Well, those walks turned into one day we were just like crossing Safeway, and I'm like, hey, like, let's like go into Safeway and let's get a drink. That drink turned into a donut. So for every walk after that, we didn't go for a walk. We went for donuts. So yes, you're
That's a
absolutely
great
right.
example of accountability gone wrong. Yeah.
And then we stopped going for walks because
There
we
you
didn't
go.
want to have donuts. So
Right.
we're totally backwards.
Change what you can control. Don't go by Safeway. You got to change your path on that one, Jed.
No, but truthfully, even the reason I have a personal trainer, and I tell this to his face, like, half the reason I'm here, yes, he's got all this expertise and he's helping me with improving strength and all that. Yes. But half the reason is because if I don't want to go, I have to text him, and I'm the first appointment every morning. That means that he left his house early to make his first appointment with me. And if I tell him 15 minutes before that I don't want to go, he's already on his way.
Yeah.
And I'm a jerk for doing that. So
That's good.
I'm like, okay. And so those days I show up and I'm just like, John, he always asks me, how am I feeling? I'm like, John, I'll be honest. Today's a show up day. I'm here. That's it. But that's what accountability will do for you. You show up, and not every day is going to be your best. Certainly not for me either. Right. But that consistency is more important than anything else when you're trying to shift your identity, to tie it back to that as well.
Yeah. I totally understand that. So let me ask you one more thing, because I think this in business is probably one of the downfalls of basically everyone. I don't think anyone can say that they started a business and didn't have a problem with this, because I think everyone goes through this. And this is kind of what makes and breaks a lot of business people, right? So let's talk a little bit about failure and the psychology of failure. So if you're a maker, right, and you can either say failure or no or what have you, but how do you get over failure as a maker, or how do you get over a no, or how do you get over negativity in general? So as far as that goes, let's say what I'm trying to get at is if you do go to a client and let's say you're excited, you're going with a proposal, you're going with a quotation, like in my case for 100,000 luggage tags, he still wants a quotation. I have to go with this, right? So let's just use that as an example. I know my psychology on how I'm going to go about it. I'm not scared at all, because I'm okay to kind of not do it, right? But let's say if you are going and you are excited about something and you take this massive proposal and you go to this client, right? One thing is you're super excited that hopefully you'll get it. The second is like, oh my God, if he says no, you're gonna be devastated. And I think for a lot of business owners, that is a massive thing, especially when you don't have a lot of business. You're trying to build your Rolodex. You're trying to build your book of business. How do you deal with the psychology of failure? Like how do you, first of all, go into that? And what do you tell yourself? And if for any reason you get the no, how do you deal with that and keep moving forward?
The most important thing always ties back to identity. Who am I outside of being a business owner? Who am I outside of being a maker? Who am I outside of being a parent or a spouse it's a little philosophical, maybe a little spiritual, but who am I outside of the roles that I play in this world? And if we can get to a strong understanding of that, then we understand that me going for, delivering a proposal, whatever else, or an opportunity is just me showing up in one of the roles. It might go against me, but it doesn't have any bearing on who I actually am. Maybe the role can change or tweak or the business, or we adjust how we do things a little bit, but it's not an indictment on who I am, because who I am is something greater than all of these things. That ability to really understand who we are and own who we are makes the rest of it so much easier. So let's say that's in place. Now, of course you're going to get excited with a new opportunity. I remember about 2.5 years ago, I had an incredible opportunity to be the keynote speaker at the Arizona's chapter for the Society of Human Resource Management, SHRM, which is the biggest HR conference in the state in a given year. SHRM is a huge organization nationally, and I think there were like 1,100 people, 1,100 HR professionals at this conference. And here I get a chance not to be a breakout, which I was the previous year, but to be on the main stage. And here I am thinking, this is my opportunity to find other MakerFlos and places that I can make a difference. And I put so much pressure on myself to perform at the very best that I possibly could, which obviously we want to do, right? But what I was trying to keep in check was that feeling of like, this is going to be the thing that changes my business forever, right? This is the inflection point. This is where it all changes. And it was an incredible experience, and very memorable too, because it was on my 40th birthday, and I love speaking now. So it was like the favorite thing I get to do on my birthday. And I thought it went wonderfully. I got some great feedback. But in terms of actually the business that it turned into was, because I'm looking, okay, let's see, 1,100 people here, 800 people in the room at that time. You're doing the math in your head, like, okay, let's say 10% or 20% scan my QR code, and 10% of them want to do a discovery call, and maybe 1% of them become a client, 10% of them become a client, or whatever. You're doing all that in your head. Yeah, it was probably the lowest percentile of all of it, right, in terms of the end result. And I just remember thinking, man, what am I going to do now, right? Like, that was a huge opportunity. Did I blow it? I didn't blow it. What I realized later is that a lot of folks that are going to that conference are looking for different things. And I found out because I would get, even just a few months ago, I had a company reach out to me. Hey, we heard you speak at that conference a couple of years ago. Would you be willing to come into our company to do a workshop for our team? What I was thinking was it'd be more like here, where I get to work with the whole team. What they were looking for was a little bit different. It's more like a single workshop and whatnot. So sometimes that no can actually mean you get a different opportunity that you weren't really realizing before. But the other thing too is to remember, because I don't know if you haven't really been a business owner until you've questioned, should I give this up? Right?
I agree.
Maybe repeatedly. Man, I remember the day I was down to my last $300. I was down to my last $300. If there was ever a time to quit, that was it. I had invested in so many things, nothing had panned out, whatever. And I was like, no, this is what I am here on earth to do. Purpose, right? Like for me, being able to help people get out of their own way and elevate themselves and be the light for the people in their lives, and to teach people how to be emotionally healthy in a world that, God, we need it so much more than ever before. Like, that's what I was put on earth to do. The business is just a vehicle for that to unfold. So if that's the case, all right, I'm going to take out another credit card and put more debt because I'm going to make this work. And so, yes, maybe that one opportunity might not be the one that changes it all. But if we know our why and why we're in it, like, why are you in the business right now that you're in? You know, what do you create for the people that buy your products? What smiles and feelings do you create? If that is a vital part of who you are, then no matter what happens, you're never going to quit. You're never going to quit. You're going to take the no and realize, I can learn something from this and make your changes accordingly. But it's never a question of, am I good enough? Is this really what, am I really cut out for this? It's none of those things. It simply becomes a data point for you to grow and get better. And as you implement that growth and doing things to make you and your business better, you start to see the fruits of that labor materialize in other ways. And it's incredibly fulfilling.
Wow. Yeah, that really resonates with me. And it reminds me of, you mentioned that you kind of thought that time was defeat and like wasteful, right? When you didn't get the feedback or the clients that you thought you'd get. It reminded me when we do a lot of the trade shows, right? And we had this trade show, first time we were doing it, it was a Pinners trade show, and it was the one in Utah. And this is described to us the first time there, as the biggest Pinners show out of all 8 of them. And we've been crushing it at the ones before. And we're like, well, we're going to go to Utah. We're going to crush it. It's the biggest one. It's sold out. There's tens of thousands of people, right? We get there. We've got 8 booths set up, and we're ready to rock and roll.
Members, yeah.
15 people there. Nobody wanted to interact with us. Nobody. It was the worst Pinners show we had. And we were like, what? We were so defeated. Like, what is going on? Like, why is this happening, right? And we're trying to talk to people, get the feedback. We weren't getting the conversions that we wanted, and the signups and the people to sit down with us at our booth. But we took a lot of learnings from that. And like, okay, what are those people there for? They weren't there to craft. they had their kids with them. It's a big family area in that where we were at that show. Like, okay, how can we make this better the next time, right? And I feel like a lot of makers have that same experience when they do a conference or a fair or a pop-up event. Like, man, that was a waste of time. I didn't get any business, you know? But if you really change your mindset and think, okay, what did I learn from that? What kind of purposeful conversations that I have with people that I can change next time and just build onto that? That's what, you know, his story I really related to. I feel like makers really relate to that when it comes to like the conferences. And
I think another thing to remember, you know, you put a lot of weight on that conference, just like I put a lot of weight on the conference I was telling you about. If we're being fair, if we also look back and see what were the situations, the relationships, the introductions that had like the most impactful results in our business, oftentimes they don't always come from those, oh, it was that event. Yeah. It was somebody said, hey, I'd like to introduce you to so-and-so. Because now I've been in business now long enough to go back and recognize a handful of people that had a disproportionate impact on including the gentleman who introduced us, right? And it's like that has been vital for, you know, for everything that comes after that. And so, yeah, there might be a job or an opportunity or a conference that we put a lot of hope into and doesn't actually work out that way. The key is to learn from it and grow and get better. But as a result of learning from it, growing and get better, and actually for me, you know, bringing back to that no conversation, there was an element of, okay, you know what? I'm going to not work with these types of businesses going forward because they don't see the value the way that you guys do. I need to figure out guys who think about business and their employees the way you do. And the moment I started saying that, which is like, I work with businesses that have 3 bottom lines. Yes, we all have to maximize profit, but maximizing the quality of life for their people and maximizing purpose. And that's a really hard thing to do. It takes a strain on our emotional health. And when our emotional health is not in peak shape, we make poor decisions, we strain our relationships, we accelerate burnout. But if you're the type of business owner that does want to, yeah, you're going to make a profit. You really are in it. You're in business as a vehicle to take care of people. I'm your guy. The moment I started changing that, which is only a learning from all the previous failures, then all of a sudden I show up in a different group and a room and I was not even talking to one person. Somebody overheard it and was like, can we chat? You know? And then all of a sudden it's like introduction here and there and magic. So you just never know, but you have to learn from the things that happen.
Yeah. So many things I got from that. One was one was the whole thing we were just talking about, you know, being able to take that no, but it sounds like, just again, going back to our identity conversation, and identity is malleable. Your identity can change and it might change, and you can't just be set on your identity. I think that's very important for business owners that might not be doing well. Just because you're not doing well doesn't mean it has to be that way.
Right.
You just have to understand, like, you understand what kind of customer you wanted, who you wanted to serve, who you want to be, and that's been the force that's been driving it, driving your business now, is like, you know what you want, and I think that has a lot to do with it. So as a maker, you know, if you're struggling right now, if I came to ask what you want, and besides I want a lot of money, like, what is your purpose? What is your why? That has a huge play. And I think one of my biggest wins from the last time we met one-on-one was not even about me. It was the fact that,
all right, let's get back into
I
it.
almost got emotional from
visualizing
your
success,
because I think,
right?
You know, a lot of people don't know this. We've known Dr. K for a while, and our sessions,
how do you really,
like, if I go one-on-one with Dr. K,
a
lot of times it's not about me talking about myself.
You know,
it's Dr. K
so
talking to me,
with
and we kind of go back and
you
forth.
love listening, just to make that clear.
Fast.
Well,
like, really,
but for me,
that is something that the reason I do that with you specifically is because
that go along with that.
You have this
heart
of just wanting the best for everybody, and I know that even when you're having a rough day,
I think I have a
bit
bit massive problem with this. I
that's
visualize a
going
lot.
well for me, lights you up,
if there's anything I only visualize, you know, like I always say at
it's
MakerFlo that
being
Marc
able
is a
to
doer
play
and
back
I'm like a
forth
thinker,
is
right? So
beautiful.
and I know that, and I know because usually our sessions go like that, and I come out even happier. I'm always dreaming. Well, I feel like it's, but I feel like we've been part of the reason why I'm trying to get better. It is a huge win that you're able to find someone that being a visualizer, you know, means that is like a MakerFlo, and just hearing you talk about them, I know so much about that client and right side to that. Where Marc is a 15-minute conversation, I'm a heavy side visualizer, and so I feel like it get together, we can actually get things done and move forward. So I think that's so amazing. But yeah, I'd love to kind of get this conversation going about visualizing and not being an over visualizer, and how do you really do it in a way that makes you successful?
It's you bring up a good point in terms of there's the thinking about it and there's the doing. You can't if all you do is think, nothing happens. If you ever watch Shark Tank, right? And there's so many ideas that come through there that are great ideas, like, oh, that's so creative, that's so unique. But what do they always look for before they invest? Is how many sales do you have? Mm-hmm. Because that sales demonstrates a few things. One is there a market for what you are trying to sell? Another one is, do you have some degree of execution ability to make that happen? Like, the world is filled with tons of great ideas, but it's really hard to make them happen. I lean a little bit more to your side, John, like a big thinker, everything else, right? And I've had to learn how to execute and get the support to execute, because ultimately I can have all the great ideas I want. If I can't bring them to the people who need it, it's meaningless. So, so just being aware of where you fall on that spectrum of thinker doer and figuring out. Generally, people tend to lean more on one side than another. Every so often I come across somebody that is great at both, and it's a pretty rare breed. So I think actually the setup that you guys have is excellent, because you know your skill set and you can lean on each other for that. But for a lot of us, like myself, who's, yes, I hire some support, but it's largely me, right, in terms of the business development and the delivery of the coaching and everything else. Then I have to be reasonably decent at both. Right. And so now with visualization as a technique, what I'm talking about is actually utilizing it in a manner that helps us achieve the goals that we're talking about. So if we look at the human brain in functional MRI studies, and the research has demonstrated this, there's certain... When you ask people in a functional MRI to see which parts of the brain light up, when you ask them about, think about a significant moment in your life, maybe it was a graduation or a wedding day or birth of a child or whatever it is, and they see the parts of the brain that light up, and you see this common core network, and you see all these other areas around, because the brain, what it's doing is it's constructing a scene to replay that memory from something that we've gone through in our past. And now, our past affects us, right? I think we can all agree on that. The things that we've been through affect how we act today. Oh, once I tried to sell that kind of product, it didn't work, and so I've never touched it again. I tried to make that kind of video, it didn't perform, so I never did it again. Or certainly going back to the events that we've experienced through childhood, the things that shaped us into who we are today. So the past affects us. What's interesting is in those same functional MRI studies, when they look at people when they are imagining events that take place in the future, they see that same common core network light up. The scene construction. Okay, I'm visualizing myself in that building on this day. Maybe it's a trade show that's coming up, and I'm visualizing myself at that booth or whatever it is. The same parts of the brain light up. A little different order, a little different. It's not exactly the same, but it's largely similar. Memory and imagination are kind of similar, if not the same. Not the same. Very similar. Very similar processes. The past affects us. What if we could put memories in our future imagination that our brain would treat it as, oh, this has already happened. I'm already there, right? And so that's the technique of visualization. So very simply, what you can do is, and this is something I practice just about every weekday morning. Sit down and I visualize, especially if there's some really important meeting that I have that day, or it could be something a little bit further out, like a speaking opportunity or something along those lines. And I will sit down and I will play out that scene in my head as if it's already there, as if it's already happening. Now, you're not doing it in real time. Let's say I'm doing a 1-hour keynote. I'm not playing out the whole keynote in my head. It's almost like, the way I describe it, it's like you're watching a movie and like clips of a movie without the sound or maybe a little bit of background music or whatever it is. And you're kind of feeling it more than you're just seeing it and everything else. But imagine you've got a really important trade show or pop-up or whatever it is, and you're picturing yourself in that moment with all of the items that you've brought. You visualize people coming to your table, and you visualize yourself in, again, new identity. It's all tying into each other, right? You're developing this new identity. You're visualizing showing up as this higher version of you that is more confident, that is more rooted in the values rather than just trying to sell to, and lowering price or whatever it might be to get there. And you visualize that happening. And then here's the important part with the visualization. Say you visualize like 3 or 4 people coming by, and it's like, wow, this is so great. They're really excited. They bought a couple items, but they're also, they just followed me on social media, and they're talking about these bigger projects that they want to do. And like, you got their contact info and all that's going really well. And then you visualize somebody coming up, just being all disinterested, right? And maybe they call your stuff crap or whatever it is, something that really just deflates you, right? But then you visualize yourself being resilient to that, going, okay, this guy's probably just had a bad day, or whoever it is. This is not a reflection on me as a person or any of those things. And you visualize yourself not getting derailed by that interaction. And you respond in a way that's kind and compassionate to that person, or however you would want to do it. And then that person goes on their merry way, and then the next 2 or 3 people come in, and it's back to that really high energy. And you visualize that whole event. You do that every single morning leading up to that trade show, that pop-up, whatever it is, right? And the whole point there is so that when that day comes, you've already done the mental reps. Your brain already knows what to expect. It's like going through the habit all over again, even though you've never stepped foot into that building before. They've seen this even with in basketball with free throw shooting. Think about all the guys that they dribble the ball at the free throw line, and some of them will even take that practice shot without the ball, right? But it's not just the physical action that they're practicing. They're visualizing the ball go through the hoop. When, yes, there's no substitute for the physical practice, but the physical practice plus the visualization actually has a better free throw percentage than just the physical practice alone, visualizing the ball going through the hoop. So all you're really doing is picturing a future event, and effectively your brain's treating it like a memory. And so all of a sudden, we start to live into this vision of ourselves, even if we've never done it before, which is the power of using visualization to, become that version of us that we're striving to become.
Yeah. What I really like what you said is you're not only visualizing the success that's potentially coming, but also the objections and the no's that you might get, and the negative aspects of it too, because that'll help you not get derailed. And so that's a really good takeaway for me. The question I have, and John, you're always thinking all the time too, is like, how do you dedicate this time to this thinking period? People are so busy in their lives, and you mentioned like every morning, and John, I know where you're thinking, buddy. But like, is there any advice, like, how do you set up that thinking time frame for somebody that says, I'm just so busy?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be as much as you think. Mm-hmm. The reality is, if we can't carve out 10 or 15 minutes in our day, what kind of life are we really living? Mm-hmm. And I've done this exercise. I can't remember if I've done it with you. I know I've done it with a couple of the team members here, where, okay, there's 168 hours in a week, right? 7 times 24. And I'll go, okay, well, how many hours do you sleep? And they'll be like 6, 7. I say, but I really want to sleep 8. Okay, let's just say you're sleeping 8 hours. Minus 50 to 168, minus 56. How many hours are you at work? Okay, 40. Okay, minus 40. And you go down this list of, okay, let's say how much time do you spend showering or eating food or all these things. You just start subtracting. And then after all that, and I'm always adding a buffer too, so it's like, okay, it takes me half an hour round trip to go to the office and back. Okay, let's just make it an hour that you're driving, right? Because there's a little, after you get home, you're not like getting onto the next thing right away. So we're adding a little buffer. And despite all the buffer we're adding, even I'm thinking of one person that just, even from the outside, it sounds like with everything going on in their life, yeah, it makes sense. There's no time at all. We get through the whole list and there's still like 18 hours, or in some cases 30 hours in the week that's unaccounted for. And it's like, where's the 30 hours go? And when you really stop and audit how you spend your time, and you realize, man, I was scrolling a little bit more than I thought I was. Or like, I spent 30 minutes trying to figure out what to eat.
Yeah,
it happens. I've done right.
Or what,
done it too.
Or what TV show to watch.
You're
when just flicking through
when
there.
I'm doing like a
minutes.
Prolon cleanse or something like that, and they give me, or like I've got a meal plan, and the meals are right there, and I don't have to think about what to eat. All of a sudden, I'm like, I feel like I have so much more time. Why is that? It's like just the 5 minutes here, 2 minutes there, whatever, it adds up. So if you can say, okay, what can I subtract out of my day to create 15 minutes? 20, 30 would be great, but let's just say 15, so that I can go to bed 15 minutes earlier or get up 15 minutes earlier before everyone else in the house is up or whatever else. So you have that time to yourself. The other thing too, do not sleep with your phone. Put the phone in another room at night, let it charge somewhere else, wake up in the morning with an alarm clock if you have to, right? But start your day without your phone and spend those first 15 minutes reconnecting with yourself, thinking about your day, visualizing, maybe meditating, praying, journaling, all those things. Breathe some air outside, tend to the garden, whatever it is. Spend that 15 minutes with yourself. Again, ideally 30, ideally outside sun exposure is even better. But you can carve out that 15 minutes, visualize your day, and it will make you that much more resilient to everything else that comes after that. Because the other hidden cost is sometimes, let's say we're thinking about, I got to respond to this email, and it's maybe it's a upset customer or whatever it is, and you're really thinking about, how do I respond to this? And maybe it takes you 30 minutes or an hour, like here and there, to get it done. But if you are more focused and energized, what if that 1 hour took you 20 minutes instead, right? But it's hidden. You don't realize that you spent, that could have been done earlier in less time, until you start feeling better, sharper, because you're visualizing, you're spending your morning, connecting with yourself, you're eating better food, you're surrounding yourself with better people. All of a sudden your mind's sharper, and things that used to take a little bit longer, you're like, wow, on to the next. You feel really good. All of a sudden you create some, but the other thing too, there's a really great book called Time to Think by Nancy Klein. And it's when we give ourselves and we give people around us that space to think, actually a lot of my sessions as well, sometimes it's not me responding, it's just giving that pause, and then the person has a realization, an aha moment. We rarely give ourselves time to think anymore. And so just slowing down and going, if I give myself time to think, I'll be more productive later and I'll make up that time, is a practical way you can think about it too, rather than like, I got to be doing something all the time.
Yeah, the way it's very interesting you guys see it that way, because for me it's actually completely different. Where you're trying to find time or trying to allot time, it's part of how I live. It's not even a thing. It's not even about non-negotiable. It's just, I guess for me, it's just the way I am. So for me, it's like I'm so used to it that I just do it automatically. I don't need time to do it. I've been doing it during the podcast.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's not even like I need 15 minutes.
That's a good point. Ongoing. Yeah, me and you are on such different extremes of that visionary and doer thing that I literally have to like try to think of when I'm going to think. Like for me, it's a lot of times it comes down to like actually being in the shower.
Yeah,
And being 6'1", the best thing I'd ever done was install a raindrop shower thing above my shower, because there's just something about that water just coming down and like hitting my head and just going down my body, and I'm able just to sit there in the shower, hot or cold. And sometimes I'll change it up too to just kind of get my body to react, and I just come up with like, I just start thinking, and my brain just starts going. I'm like, wow, that's a good idea. I come out of the shower, I got to write this down. Before you know it, I've got like 3 or 4 different things just from thinking in the shower. But on your end, you're constantly always thinking in that kind of aspects. But for me, I really have to intentionally set those time frames to be like, okay, let me vision this out and be that visionary time frame.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of times when Mark and I are in the office, because we share an office. We don't have an office each, but a lot of times, like I'll just like randomly say something to Mark, and then Mark will kind of giggle, or he'll be like, "What?" And I'll be like, "I think I just sounded crazy," because I'm visualing so much, and I like to call it playing chess. And okay, if A happens, then B and C will have B and C happen, and I go so far deep that I come to this conclusion. I'm like, "Hey, Mark, what do you think about this?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" Like, what? And
context, please.
Yeah. And usually there isn't, but it's so natural to me that I'm always visualizing. And for me, I guess it's preparedness.
Yeah.
I feel like, if I can visualize and I can be prepared for it, like I'm more prepared for it. And in most cases, it's helped me out more than anything, because I can visualize so far ahead. So yeah, just a little different take and a different mindset on that. But would highly recommend it. I think it's helped me more than it's hurt me. So yeah, but I like this question. What makes visualization effective versus wishful thinking? So I think this is kind of because visualization itself, I think to many might just be like, oh, it's like a Disney movie,
Visualization is not, pure like manifestation and then it's all going to happen, right? Visualization, here's the thing, like manifestation, I'm not like pro or against. I'm like, hey, try all the things, make it all happen, right? So the vision boards, I got one, right? All those things. But I think but if you just put it on a vision board, it's not going to happen. Never confuse hope for a plan. Doesn't work, right? You have to have a plan for how you're going to get there. Now, a plan without some emotion behind it, a plan without some why behind it, a plan without some real purpose behind it is meaningless. You need both. You need to be able to think and dream, and then like, okay, how do we make this dream possible? You got to have both. You got to have both. And so I think if you find yourself, I'm thinking, okay, so I'll give you an example. This is a rabbit hole that I go down, and I get to talk to the guys here about it with cameras and mics and whatnot. I love all these gadgets and stuff, right? But every so often, if I'm not careful, in my free time, not in work time, but in my free time when I'm just trying to, lounge around a little bit, I will go so deep into all these cameras and lenses and everything else, stuff I will never use for my business, right? Just because, oh, that's cool. What if I could get that? What if I change my studio to do such and such? And then I'll have to stop myself and go, is this going to help me serve my clients better or not? Like, no. Okay, then don't spend $2,000 on a new camera then. Okay, all right, got to remind myself. So, I can fall down those traps as well. But I think it's always bringing it back to something practical. And as long as you know what that practical, look, why are you in this business in the first place? It all comes down to that. Why are you in this in the first place, and who am I? Right? If we can answer those two questions, then that can be the North Star for all the things. Am I visualizing too much and daydreaming too much? Or am I just like trying all these tactics without a real plan? Because you know this too. Like you can be like, oh, I got to do this, and this, and whatnot. Or even with like where you're going to post on social media. It's one of the things that I had to kind of narrow down, because I get all the people saying, oh, you got to be on TikTok or you got to be on this. And like, there's only so much that I can, do with me and a small team. And so, but I stopped and thought, okay, where do the people that I'm trying to reach, where do they likely live? And how much impact, how am I going to attract the people that I work with, how do they find me? Usually it's somebody made an introduction, or they saw me speak at an event like you did, right? And so if you hear me speak, now that's like a 20-minute to 1 hour talk.
Yeah.
I can share a whole lot more than I can on a 30-second TikTok, right? So maybe I need to do a little bit more longer form stuff. Let me prioritize that. Now, one day, can I get to the short form stuff? Yeah, you can clip them out and all that. But yeah, but to do like true short form storytelling is its own art. I don't have the time and space for that. So instead of just trying and doing all the things and getting stuck in the doing all the things that don't move the needle, do the 20% that has the 80% of the results, the 80-20 principle, doing on that side. But then the same thing on the dreaming side is, what are the most impactful things that I can think about?
Oh, very cool. Yeah, visualization is extremely cool. I'm like I said, I'm a big fan of it, and it's one of my weapons that I use, and I try to teach folks as well on how to visualize in situations and in events, and so I think it's very, very powerful. And like this whole segment's gone, it all connects, right? Yeah. You can't really visualize anything if you don't know who you are. Right. There's nothing to visualize. If you don't know who you are today, you have nothing to visualize about. So, again, it all kind of comes back to the identity portion. So the next thing, which I would love to move on to segment 4, because, once you have your identity, and once you're ready to really take that step and kind of move the door, when you know who you are, what you want to do, what success means to you, what your why is, it becomes very easy to start visualizing. So like one of the first steps for me is to figure that out, and then your visualization, well, you will master that as well, and you'll start visualizing, and then slowly, incrementally, you'll start hitting those goals that you're visualizing, and incrementally you'll get better at everything, right? So this is all kind of moving together and building this sort of persona identity, or a pathway almost for how this entire segment can help you. But then you've been so great and passionate this entire episode when we're talking about these segments, right? Energy, and how that's kind of the leading indicator. So Dr. K, talk to me a little bit about why energy is more predictive than time or money. What are your thoughts on that?
We can try to maximize. Obviously, we're trying to maximize revenue and profit in the business. We're trying to maximize freedom in our personal lives as a result of being a business owner and all those things. But I can usually tell when I meet somebody, and let's say we're on a discovery call, I can usually tell pretty quickly how much longer they can endure being in the present state that they are. So, spoke to a gentleman yesterday, very successful business. And he's actually implemented a whole lot of things that I would have suggested that he do. Done that already. But there's a level of burnout that is approaching, and I can tell simply by the language and the body language of how he describes his energy levels. I think when we optimize our own energy, optimize for energy, then everything else follows. If we feel energized and we feel focused, everything else falls into place. We can make better decisions. We can be more resilient when things go against us. We can be more resilient when people say something that we might have taken a different way. All those things. And so if we're tired, if we're worn down, if we're burned out, all those things become harder. So I think if we can maximize doing the things that give us the most energy and minimize doing the things that sap our energy, granted, it's a lot easier when you have an incredible team because what gives you energy might sap somebody else's energy. Like if I asked you to be a daydreamer and if I asked you to be the executor, it would sap all your energy, right? So if you lean into the thing that you're great at, it's going to give you more energy. If you lean away from things. Now, smaller teams, solopreneurs, you got to wear all the hats. It becomes a little difficult, but that is one of those things that knowing. There's a really great book by Dan Martell called "Buy Back Your Time." So for the solopreneur, there's like an energy audit that he has in there too. So for a solopreneur, it's helping you figure out, okay, what are the tasks that really sap my energy? And I need to get somebody that's great at that to do those things for me. So like for me, I have an executive assistant who handles all my scheduling, because when I'm in the middle of coaching folks and I get a text from one of my clients about, oh, can't make that appointment, can we reschedule? In my head, it would be like, oh, right, I got to get back to so-and-so about such and such. And it's just like, and then there's the whole back and forth, and I don't enjoy that. I want to be doing this, right? She loves doing those little details. She's like, oh, yes, let's fix this up. And so it's perfect. It's that perfect harmony. Obviously, in the beginning, I couldn't afford any of that. So you had to do the best you can, right? But it's being able to identify, there's only two non-renewable resources that we have: our time and our attention. If we spend our time, we're never getting it back. If I give my attention away, I'm never getting it back, which is also why it's so important. We're tying this back to everything else. Work with the customers that you want to work with. And for those that aren't a good fit, say no, because you're giving them your time, you're giving them your attention, your energy. And if that saps the energy from you, now you're going to be that much less capable of handling whatever comes up going forward. So instead of, yes, money is important and all the, taking care of the people and your customers, everything's really important. But if you take care of that, your energy first, that will ensure that everything else falls into place that much easier.
Yeah. I think another, just a real life example. And this really takes, it's getting a little personal between Mark and I, but 6-7 months ago, we were kind of at a position with MakerFlo where things were a little rough. We were just like, what do we do? And, a lot of the things that we talked about today, I feel like because, you've been part of MakerFlo, you've been teaching this to us and we've been practicing this. And I feel like there were so many times that our energy did go haywire. There were some days that we were just like, you know what, this is not even worth it anymore. And there were some days that and we had to pull ourselves out of it. And the only reason that the ups and downs were so crazy, like it just felt like nothing was worth it, right? But then again, re-identifying our identity. Like Mark and I spent a lot of time outside of work. From our work was from 9 to 5, but then Mark and I were going out from 5 to 10. And we were like, okay, who are we? Like, why are we doing this? And just trying to re-identify our why. And we've done that so many times. You don't just identify your why once and that's it. It's written in stone. So I think we have practiced this. And again, just to reiterate, we've personally gone through this, and it's always reimagining your why. And I think now we are come to a place where things are set. We love the way things are going. I noticed that no matter what confrontation problems we come into, our energy is like, we're going to solve this and we're moving forward. There's nothing that can stop us now. Like, come at me, right? Come at me and try to take me down. Yeah. You want 100,000 units, and I don't want to take the order, right? And I think there's a place where I'm not being complacent, but I know like what I want now, right? And I can respectfully say like, hey, if you don't value that I'm trying to service value, and you're telling me in my face that you don't care, well, then it's not. I'm not saying I don't care. I'm not servicing that. That's not part of my menu to service.
But you know what? There's probably another company that's a better fit for them anyway.
Well, exactly.
And they will get what they want. That other company will get what they need, and that's a match that's what they're looking for.
Right. And I hope, and the hopes and the dreams is that in doing all this, that customer and client, if this doesn't work out, remembers that.
Yeah.
And in the future, when they do want something quality, they'll remember me for it. And if they don't, that's totally fine. But I think this is so brilliant. This whole segment is making me realize that I think the most underrated and undervalued thing is mindset, because I think what has helped Mark and I through this entire journey has been our mindset, because I think we would first break because of being demotivated by not having the energy to keep going and service our customers at MakerFlo. And it would make it so much more difficult if our mindset was not straight. Right. And so this whole thing is making me realize, up to the energy, that it's so important to have these things in line.
Going back to what you said about 6-7 months ago when things were in a really rough spot, I remember the conversations that we had around that time, where I remember specifically saying to you, John,
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen you like this.
Mm-hmm.
In 5+ years, I've never seen you this negative.
Yeah.
And that told me, okay, we got to do something different. And, Marc, you're like this very uplifting, high energy guy, and the world had beaten you down, plus some other personal challenges as well. So you put it all together. It's difficult. And I knew at that time, you remember, I told you both this separately, that if I were to look through all the people that I know and the people that I get to work with, and you were to draw up this specific challenge that you're dealing with, right? If I got to pick who was going to be the CEOs to handle that situation, I'd pick you guys. That you are the ones that are perfectly cut out to solve that problem at hand. Because at that point in time, you didn't feel like you could, or you didn't feel like it was worth. But I asked you a couple specific things, which was, if you didn't have MakerFlo, what would you do? Right? There wasn't a clear answer. And the second part is, well, what is your favorite part of owning this business? Guess what? It had everything to do with, do you remember what you told me?
The people that we get to spend every day with.
The people that you get to spend every day with.
Yeah.
And you had reiterated something that you had told me a couple years actually prior, when I asked you, okay, when things get hard, it was almost foreshadowing at that point, right? Things are going to get hard at some point. It's the cycle of business. Why do you love this? Like, you're taking on all this debt, all this risk. You have everybody's livelihood on your shoulders. You're thinking about everybody's payroll, their livelihood. If something goes wrong, everybody loses. Like, all the customers that you lovingly serve, where are they going to go? All this pressure on your head that I know keeps you up every night, right? And so why do you do it? You could get a job somewhere else and make decent money, whatever else, but why do you choose to do this? And it was ultimately that. What other vehicle can you have other than a business like this to hire incredible human beings and give them a place to work and that's fun to be at and challenging, and we all get to grow together, and all your outside the box benefits like this guy, and all those things. Like, what other vehicle would allow you to do that? So are you going to fight through this and figure this out, or are you going to let it fizzle away? And I remember with you specifically, Marc, because you're not a sports guy, and I was like, what do you think Tom Brady said to his team when they're down 28-3 at halftime in the Super Bowl against the Falcons? Nobody's ever come back from something like that before. You can't lean on, hey, back 30 years ago, some team did this. No, all you've got is, this is what we stand for. This is what we believe in. It's why it's so important to know what your why is in the first place. Because I think if you didn't have that, it would have been a lot harder to reimagine. Now, you had part of that reimagining is learning how to say no to things, right? Like you talked about with that order, and say, like, okay, you know what? We're not going to be the compete on price guy. We're going to build an incredible community, and we're going to come up with innovative products that you can't get anywhere else. We're going to put our heart and soul into this, and we're going to introduce our customers and our team together, and like let them see, who we are and what we stand for, and that's what we'll be about. And the moment that happened, things started to change. Your energy started to change. And by the way, you guys as leaders, and some of you might have some small teams as well. Like, our role as a leader, if we show up with low energy, everybody suffers. Everybody suffers. Even if they're having a good day, not anymore. right? And now, does that mean we have to be perfect and put on a smile every day? No, but it does mean that we've got to constantly do the work to make sure that we are in a good place, that we're always growing, that we can be a good example for the people around us, be authentic and really strive to be the best that we can be. And as we do that, we feel more energy. We dedicate our time and attention more intentionally. And then we know, okay, the money will come. The profits will come.
Yeah.
And it will. That's a nice secondary side effect. Let your energy and the service be the number one focus.
Yeah, the word that comes to my mind, when I listen to that, is the impact that John and I are able to make, not only with our team members, but all of our customers and all of our vendors that we work with. And it's the impact that gives us the energy to come to work every day. And like you said, it isn't high energy all the time. There's ups and downs, but finding that identity that we keep coming back to and what gives you that energy. And for us, it's the impact and the changes. And if we can see that impact we're making on our team and our customers, and that's what keeps us going.
Yeah, 100%. I get it. I'm excited to wake up in the morning and come to work. And a lot of people ask, like, you work so much, and it's like, I don't really see it that way. I feel like another minute I get is another chance I have to make an impact, and that's exciting to me. So
Exactly.
keeps my, and then again, it wouldn't be that way if I didn't have, if we didn't have identity, and we didn't have, Mark and I didn't have like focus on what we were trying to do, who we are, why we're doing it, like, and there's a why to everything, right? And the minute you start understanding that, when you realize that the decisions you make, there's a reason why you're making them, it puts purpose, it puts the jet fuel, and now you know where you're going, where you're heading, and what you're doing, and that's what gives the energy, and then you automatically you automatically become this person. Like, we're now talking about, okay, what activities drain our energy? Okay, what activities are not worth it? And we're trying to push those activities out. So, you've definitely trained us in doing this, and we're putting it into action, and we're slowly doing it little by little actions, by little wins, and now it's just becoming big decisions and big actions. And it's like a whole learning experience. It won't happen, like you said, it won't happen in a week. It takes time, but you have to consciously understand it, believe it, work it into your system, work it week to week, day to day, and then eventually it becomes part of who you are, which is pretty awesome. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think we're having some of our own epiphanies.
I know, it's like
realizations.
like
it's
great
like
coaching
getting the
session
feels.
here.
Yeah, I know. Thanks. Yeah, we just got 2 hours with Dr. K for free.
Winning, high energy, high impact. There
He
we
didn't
go.
see that coming. He didn't visualize it. I did.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do the next and final. I think this is one of the ones I love this segment, because I think I feel like most folks, it's not only in business, but this is probably a big one in personal as well. So it's going to hit home. So take it away, Mark.
Yeah. Environment dictates execution. Your environment dictates execution. Wow, it's a tongue twister.
Dictates.
Your environment dictates
There we go.
execution. There we go. Yeah, I guess you're a product of your environment. And one of the things that always stuck with me that Dr. K has said, during our session is, you're an average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, right? And that always hit home with me. And we talked about how do you level up, and how do you get better, and you hang out with people that you want to be, and just, that's always in the back of my mind, is how do I level up? And it comes down to the environment that you're creating around you and the people that you're spending the most time with, and how do you improve that? You get better people into your life. So, the environment you make helps get a better execution. So, talk to us a little bit, Dr. K, about, like the physical environment, and why does that matter? And how do you make changes to that? And what kind of environment should you have to be successful and be the person and the identity you want to have?
So when I'm talking about environments, I'm talking about, yes, your physical environments, your digital environments, social environments, your time environment as well. So think about it this way. If your goal is to lose weight, and I put a plate of fresh baked chocolate chip cookies on your kitchen counter every single day. You got willpower, though, Mark.
Yeah.
You got willpower, John. Willpower your way through it. Don't eat the cookies. They're not for you. What's happening? you can eat the cookies.
I definitely will, especially the
You're
chocolate
definitely
chip.
gonna you're definitely eating the cookies.
Definitely.
So your environment set you up to fail there, right? The cookies are within view. See the cookie, want the cookie, eat the cookie, cookie yum, habit cycle continues, and and round we go. So that's an example of a physical environment that is set up to make us fail. Now, if every day when we wake up, if we've got a pair of shoes and a t-shirt and bottoms and maybe a jacket if it's in the winter, and it's all right there in the bathroom ready for you, and all you have to do is put them on and go for a walk in the morning, now your environment is set up to help you succeed.
As long as there's no Safeway.
Or as long as there's no Safeway. As long as there's no Safeway. If you want to eat better and all of the food in your house is only... And now I'm not saying you can't eat the bad stuff. If you're out there and you're with some friends in a nice restaurant, enjoy. If that's what you want to do, great. But in the house where you're around it most of the time, if all you have are healthy choices, you're going to eat more healthy. Now, no restrictions. You can go to the drive-thru. You can go. But the moment you got to get in the car and go drive there, so you're like, you know what? I'll just eat this apple over here, right? And so that's a way that an environment can support you. Think about now digital environments. I have noticed at various times. So there's one folder on my phone that gets moved to all these different locations, sometimes like 4 pages over. I have empty pages on my iPhone just to finally get to the social media folder, right? Because I have found at various times in the past that I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm on my phone and my finger just goes over to the Facebook app and opens it. And before I know it, I'm like, what did I do that for? Whatever. What was I looking for? I wasn't looking for any of this. And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, right, I got to move. You change now. And I experimented also with just straight deleting it. I don't use those apps for personal consumption. It's only for my
That's
business.
what we all say.
Yeah, but it happens from time to time. And I'm like, and then God forbid you look at one funny dog video and that's all I get on Instagram anymore, And so I just said, okay, I got to adjust my digital environment. So I delete it, but then it actually made my business a little bit harder. I went to a speaking event and I was going to do a little Instagram story. I'm like, I have no Instagram app. Awesome. So, and I didn't have time to install it, log in, whatever. So I just started hiding those apps all around, Anyway, so that's an example of changing your digital environment to spend less time on the apps that don't move you toward the person that you want to be. And so that's another way. Social environment. We talked about, I think it was Jim Rohn originally who coined the phrase, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I think it's also the 5 concepts and ideas and things like that, the things that also shape our thinking, right? And so if you're around other concepts, ideas, ways of thinking, ways of being, people who live that way, it's going to be so much easier. I remember... there was the first time I got a gym membership, because there was always gyms at like my college or at work or whatever, right? Where I used to work. But then getting a actual gym membership at a little bit more of a boutique fitness club. And I'm walking in the door and all of a sudden you're just like, this is not the average population of people. Like you're just looking at how fit and lean and strong and everybody is. And you're just like, but imagine if that's all you saw every day. Would you become more like that or less like that?
You'd average up.
Yeah, you'd average up. So I think that's one of the most powerful things we can do in terms of like community building, as you're doing here, is I think the more you can, I imagine, if this is not part of your plan, then add this to your visualization. But imagine like some of the makers and influencers in your community sitting in this chair in the future, sharing their story of how they went from nothing to where they are now, right? And now that creates an environment where the person who's just starting out going like, okay, I know I'm getting all this negative talk from my family and my friends, like, oh, oh, you're just going to be one of those people. You're going to fail at this, whatever. And we hear all that negativity and we think that's what's going to happen until we start surrounding ourselves with more people that are living the life that we want to live. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm going to block out the noise over here. I'm going to listen to this person. Right. And there's more than this person, there's more people. And so and I've told you guys this before too. I think it's miraculous that you have built a business of this scale without necessarily even being around a lot of business owners that have built businesses to this scale. And so I've challenged you to, okay, you want, spend some time with some business owners that are 10x the size of you, right? To see what their life is like. How do they think about things? Because you can't do 10 times more work than you're doing right now. So they must be doing something else. Right. And this is the way. And same thing, if we're the solopreneur and we're trying to get to that point of, well, how do I get to a point where I can hire help on different things? Well, okay, talk to the person, be around the person that has been through that same journey. It makes a huge difference. So that social environment is almost as much about subtraction as it is addition too. Because some people are just so, I remember when I was on my journey after my corporate career, I was on that journey of losing 100 pounds. And I remember I was 60 pounds down at that point in time. And one of my friends was like, just be careful. You don't want to get too skinny. And I was still 40 pounds overweight, by the way. Right. And I just remember thinking, that's a weird thing to say. Not, hey, you're doing so great. That's so inspiring. There were plenty of friends like that. This is one friend. I'm like, and then I realized later, it feels like a threat to them that I'm going to outgrow them. They're going to lose me as a friend. And so people will cut you down for that reason too. You just got to be aware of these things. Growth means you're unfortunately going to outgrow some people.
So that really dictate your execution because somebody's bringing you down and you're like, absolutely. Well, should I execute this or not? Because
what are they going to say? What are they going to do? Am I going to lose this friend that I really care about? And sometimes I've had to, there are friends that I have that I really deeply care about. I just engage with them a little bit differently than, some of the ones that I'm spending a ton of time with, because those people are the ones that we're also sharing business ideas and, hey, what's working for you? Or that's really inspiring. You wrote this book. Now I want to write my book, and things like that. Right. And so, that's something you want to think about from the social environment. And then there's the time environment. How do you structure your calendar? So when I look at an empty week, I've got, even before, sorry guys, my MakerFlo appointments, there are a few non-negotiables, right? There's a few non-negotiables. This is when I go to my personal trainer every week. This is the time that I have blocked off for certain aspects of my business, creative time. I'm inherently not as creative as a person as a lot of folks. I'm more of a monkey see, monkey do kind of person. It takes a lot of focus and energy for me to come up with, recording content and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, this day of the week, I'm not seeing anybody, right? This is the day that I'm blocking off only for this. That comes first. Now, that doesn't pay the bills, right? But it's what I have to do. And then also, most importantly, personal relationships. My wife and I have some set times on a set cadence this is for nobody else but us, right? So that no matter how busy we both get, and she's a business owner too. So no matter how busy we get, we have this time and it's non-negotiable. So you structure your calendar in a way that you've got a couple things that, when they say make time for such and such, you start with that and you fill everything else around it. And even some of the things that that pay the bills, you fill all that around it. And then there's the someday, maybe the nice to haves. And if you can get those in, you get those in. If not, okay. So when I say structuring your environment, what I'm saying is if you can optimize your physical environment, your digital environment, your social environment, and your time environment in a way that you don't have to think about it, you just automatically do. It's instead of rolling the rock uphill, now you've got a hill that is downhill and the rock flows more easily. So that's ultimately the point, is we spend all this time thinking, oh, I just need more willpower. If I just got more willpower and push through it. And yes, there are times that it takes a little bit more willpower and pushing through. If you're trying to get that last rep on that bench press or whatever else, right? But the studies have shown we have a limited supply of willpower in any given day. So you want to burn it on something that could have been saved by just structuring your environment in a little bit better way, especially the social side of it. We spend so much time with the negative people or whatever else in our world, and you spend all your energy there and you got no energy. Oh, I gotta write an email newsletter. I'm not going to do it. Right. Even though every time you promote something on your newsletter, you make a bunch of sales, you know, it's a helpful thing, but you don't do it because your energy was spent over here on something that not immediately, but with a little effort could be minimized, if not avoided entirely. Create a structure in your environment to make your life flow and your business flow in the direction that you want it to flow. Everything else, more or less, not always, but more or less, more times than not, will fall into place.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I love the 4 pillars that I never gotten this session with you live, and those are great pillars: the physical, digital, social, and time.
Yeah, you're taking notes
Yeah,
right there too.
yeah, these are
like
notes just for myself because
Yeah.
that's some valuable stuff there. And
I'm telling you, we
Yeah.
visualize free session, free session, free session.
but yeah, I feel like you could implement the 5 average in almost all of those. You know, your average of your 5 environments where you're hanging out the most. Okay, at home, in your car, at work. You know, and
Well, also, the reason I work with teams is actually because of you guys. Mark, you remember back in the day, you came to me asking about, potentially working with me directly. We talked about it and you're like, this is really good. Do you work with teams, like whole companies? I said, it's on my radar for the future, but not yet. He's like, okay, I want you to meet my partner and we'll sit down and we'll see and then that's how Emotionally Healthy Company, this program, started. But as I worked with you guys more and the amazing people here, right? Honestly, I'm here for them more than you. Just so you got some really great people here. Love the folks I get to talk to here, and I realized something. There was one day where I'm walking in, and this was after I had done one of the workshops here, and I had a worksheet, people filling out the exercises and whatnot. And there was one guy talking to another, and they didn't know that I was here, right? I had just walked in the building, and I just remember one of them. I could tell that this person was really stressed about something, and this person goes, "Hey, you remember what Dr. K said in that last one about the truth cycle and whatnot?" And he's like, "Yeah, I remember. Okay, all right, I'll keep that in mind." And I just remember witnessing that moment, going, "This is so cool. This is why I do what I do, because optimizing the 5 people you spend. This is why I love working with teams. You spend a lot of time with each other, right? So if being around each other can be a growth experience rather than we work at a company where we're just all negative all the time and then we bring each other down, then yeah, we're going to have bad days. That's going to happen. But how we regulate that and manage that and support each other. Imagine if that is the people we spend time with at work is one or more of those people that we spend that much time with. And so that elevates who we become. And so now the majority of the work that I do is with teams, for that reason, because it just makes such a bigger impact that way when your workplace can be one of the places that is. And so now if you're a solopreneur, you don't have that kind of workspace, but that's where having like communities of people that you can spend time with, maybe form your own little mastermind group. Like, okay, we're all kind of at the same level of our business. What have you learned? What have you learned? How can we hold ourselves accountable? That's what I did early on too. I formed my own little group of people that I met at a conference, and how do we, and actually it was one of the people there that challenged me on something that made a lasting impact. She was like, we didn't have the words back then. This was 2019, right? But she was basically saying in today's language, like, you're trying to be a creator, or you're trying to be an influencer, rather. You're trying to be an influencer, but you can actually provide a service, Dr. K. What are you doing this? Why don't you provide the service and let your social media content be more the promotion for that? And at that time, because I was thinking like, okay, I'll create content, I'll sell courses, I'll whatever. And so that was all born from having a group that I created to hang out and talk about our businesses. None of us were that much further ahead than the other. You can create these environments for yourself. It takes a little bit of effort, but it is so worth it, because you just never know what moment is going to change the trajectory of the rest of your business and therefore your life.
true.
100% agree.
It's happened a few times with us.
Yeah, yeah, and it seems like whenever Mark and I intentionally try to form a group, it's if you know what Fern is, you know, they take two atoms and there's an explosion and a bunch of elements come out. You know, I feel like that's what happens, right? You form these groups, or you intentionally go out there and be like, okay, someone like myself, you know, someone with my energy, someone with this, someone with this, someone with this, and Mark and I, we formulate partnerships, we formulate all these great relationships, people that we can even talk to, and it's always beautiful. So, but it's all intentional. It's all knowing who you are. It all starts from identity, I guess, and it just kind of flows through and becomes natural. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, environment is. I agree with you with all the environment. The new one though you taught me is time environment. Now, when you said that, I'm visualizing my calendar. And sorry, social media team, you're getting ixnayed. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that definitely have to be intentional on our calendar to make sure that we're servicing not only our business needs, but maybe even our personal needs. I think that's super important to stay sane.
100%. You know, like even in your world, I know how much the walking did a huge impact for you. At the end of the day, and not near Safeway. This is a different walking timeline, more recently. But you know, like maybe that is the thing that lives on the calendar no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I think I hope this segment is going to be, you know, very helpful, you know, for a lot of preneurs out there that are, you know, either have your own team or you're solo or what have you. You know, if you have any questions, leave it in the comments, and you know, we'll have Dr. K read them and respond to them and make sure that they're getting, you know, taken care of. And Dr. K is planning to be here unless for indefinitely until MakerFlo is here. So he's going to be here for, I don't know, forever, probably. You're not retiring. We're not retiring. So
About the same age.
40, 50 more years or so.
I got a long road ahead of me.
Because I'm visualizing it right now.
Oh, right,
50
right.
years, yeah.
Got it, yeah.
I'm envisioning like a massive beard.
Oh,
you know?
it's just gonna
You're going to
get
be
that much
Gandalf the
longer.
Grey, and you shall not enter MakerFlo. No, but all jokes aside, it's been great having Dr. K on our team, and I think I truly think that the impact that you've had on everyone's lives here, professionally, but more so personally, is invaluable. And I wish, you know, we were in a position where I could just be like, you know, here's more, because I think what you've done for us, and I don't even think most of the folks really understand what you do for us, because it's not tangible, but what you do for everyone that you touch is so incredible, because it changes who we are as a person, and that goes out and touches so many other people, and I think the impact that you create, even you'll never know. But we definitely see it because we work with everybody every day, and we see how much of a positive impact, how folks are thinking differently, how their personal lives are changing, you know, how they intentionally decide to do this or decide. I mean, we see the positive impact more than you do, because you just come in here, and what I like to think about is you just come here and you listen to us and you listen to our problems, but you don't get to see the fruits of your labor unless you walk in from behind and hear something like that, and you're like, oh, I am doing good, you know. But you know, you've definitely impacted, you know, MakerFlo as a whole and the folks that work here in ways that, again, we can't calculate. And you know, I do have ulterior motive in all this, in having you on board. And one of my big goals is to show everybody what a sustainable company. Well, when you had started, we had talked about how we wanted to promote sustainability, that the bottom line and the profit was not what it's all about. It's also the bottom line of us personally as human beings. Like, are we, you know, and our team members, is there a positive impact being created, right? And I think in the last 5 years, we've definitely done that. And it's the intentionality of any company, right? Whether it's a company that have team members or whether you're solopreneur, whether you want to focus on that or not. Just because you're a company that says, oh, it doesn't fit the bottom line. Well, we've been doing it for 5 years, and we're not like a $1 billion company. We're not a huge profitable company, but we know who we are, and we want to definitely focus on profit, but we also want to focus on growth. You know, we want to make sure that the folks that come to MakerFlo and our MakerFlo, you know, are here, are learning, are growing personally, and are growing professionally. And I don't want someone's tenure here to end and just go like, oh yeah, I worked at MakerFlo. Their pay was crap. You know, I'd rather hear like I worked at MakerFlo and man, it was a great experience. I grew a lot as a person, and now I'm moving on to a different thing. And you know, and my personal growth and professional growth has been impacted so well. And because of that, I'm making good money, right? Mm-hmm. And so I really appreciate everything you've done. I think you've had a massively positive impact, and I'm really hoping that, you know, everyone that's viewing this, you know, get to learn something out of it, and we'll put your information. So if there's a company out there that wants to make that positive impact within their company, and wants to, you know, offer something like this, and they're able to contact you and get a hold of you and offer that, because I think we've done something really cool in the last 5 years. So
absolutely. And you know, I have you to thank for Emotionally Healthy Company, the program, becoming a thing. You know, it was a leap of faith both directions, right?
Yeah.
Do I know I can help? Yes. Have I done it before? No. I visualized it working though. No, for real. But I think the hardest part, actually, I'm going to take a moment to tie this into the saying no at times too. Soon after we started working together, I did get approached by another company, maybe within a year, another company that I thought, oh, okay, this is going to be another opportunity. And so I thought, okay, let me go ahead and do that. I'll engage with this company and whatnot. But I realized something was different. I thought, okay, well, you're hiring Dr. K, emotional health mentor. They must be like you guys. Not really. What they were looking for was, so you had the owner, they had a management team, and then they had, you know, all their employees, and the owner is the executive team, then the management team, then the employees. And what they asked was like, I was thinking, you know, something along the lines of, let's do an introductory workshop for the whole company. We'll work, you know, the way that we did it here. I said, no, not really. Actually, I was just wondering if you could do like a 40-minute seminar just for a management team. I said, not for the executive team, not for the owner, not for the employees. Yeah, just for the management team, just 40 minutes, something like that. I said, okay. I think you've got the wrong guy. I really needed the money at that point too. But I was like, how's this going to end? You know, even if I go there, I give it my all, right? I'm not going to hold back, right? I'm going to give it my all. But it's not going to lead to anything, and they don't even want it. The owner was just trying to check the box. Like, oh yeah, we did something for our mental health. Check the box. I have no interest in doing that anymore, right? Actually, not anymore, ever. Like for you guys, it was very much the difference between you and most business owners is not like, oh, we're going to bring this emotional health mentor here for our team, but this is for you guys. Like we're too busy. We're doing this. No, it was very much, you know, when the team walks by the conference room and sees, you know, Mark's got his notebook and he's furiously writing notes, and you could tell, you know, John and Dr. K are having this emotional conversation. When you see that, it's like, okay, they're not above this or anything else. They're doing this right there with us. That makes all the difference. And I will not, you were the standard. So now going forward, my current clients and any future clients, I will not work with a company where the owners aren't working on themselves with me too. Clause number 1. Yeah, it doesn't work otherwise. You know, it doesn't work otherwise. Otherwise, it's like, okay, we have this guy here. Great. As opposed to, this is who we are. This is what we believe in. And we're going to do this work too and implement these things and try to become the best versions of ourselves and hopefully lead by example, you know, and I think it's really shown in terms of the quality of human beings you have and the quality of human beings who've come in here. And then even from a numbers standpoint, I've talked to companies that their turnover rate is so bad and they complain about how much they have to spend on, you know, with Indeed.com and whatever else, like, because, you know, we hired somebody, you know, we trained them up and 2 months later they're gone. and then we have to do that all over again. Now we burned out this person that's doing 2 people's jobs and they left, and and then we hired somebody because we needed them fast, but they had a personality conflict with one of our best people and they left now. And now we're like, and at the end of the day, it's like, I think it's really simple. Yeah, we're not perfect. None of us are perfect, but we have the intention of like, treat people well. If you treat people well and help them with basic needs, the stability, a sense of belonging, feeling of growth, and a purpose in the work that we do, if you can provide that for people, yeah, not everybody's going to be a good fit, or at least for, there's chapters in our lives too. People can still come and go, but far less than the crazy turnover that most companies deal with. And, I've gotten to see that over the time that I've been here, just the amount of turnover that you guys have relative to a normal company. It's minuscule, and it's, and I think like my premise is, what if taking care of people is good business? Can we bring that one back? And it's funny because I've gotten a chance now to talk to a few older companies out east. We're multi-generational, and you go back to their original founding values back when they started in the 40s, 50s, and like manufacturing, these type of companies. And it's very much like, no, we treat our people well, which is like, that's how it used to be, right? That's how it used to be. Let's bring it back. What if the best, most talented people, right, got to work for, like, it was like, okay, I could work here or I could work for MakerFlo. Like, I don't work at MakerFlo. Like that's what I want, And so, but yeah, I appreciate that. And it goes both ways. I also wouldn't be here, business-wise. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you guys, believing in me in my early days. And so I'm glad that, we've both been able to make an impact together. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, we're just as grateful, Dr. K, for the impact you've made on our lives, and you continue to make a lot of impact. And you have no idea how far beyond it goes from just the people you interact with. It multiplies, and it really ends up spreading goodness, and that's what we're all about, is be good, do good, spread good. And I think this is the definition of that, and what we're doing together. So I appreciate that. And for everyone that's listening out there, can you just share a little bit about how do people connect with you, social media? Is there any opportunities for people to work with you? And just kind of talk a little bit about that, how people can connect.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can follow me on all the social media accounts. It's Dr. Karthik Ramanan, one word, or Dr. Karthik Ramanan, depending on. But you can search my name, or you go to my website, drkarthikramanan.com. All the socials are linked there. YouTube and LinkedIn are going to be my most active ones, but maybe if I'm interacting with your group, I'll expand my horizons a little bit. But those would be where I'd start with. If you are a business owner just starting out, and you want to implement some of these things we talked about, the most economical way, I have a book called The Emotionally Healthy You: How to Own Your Past and Love Your Future. And there's a workbook that goes with it. You can just download the workbook pages for free, actually, on the Reader Resources page. So for $10, you'll have a lot of the frameworks that I actually teach all my clients as well. I didn't really hold anything back in the book. I wanted it to be as helpful for as many people as possible. If you want a little bit more, if you're a business owner and you've got some momentum and you're like, I need to get out of my own way a little bit, I know there's another level for me. I do have a group called the Emotional Edge for Entrepreneurs. And it's again, weekly accountability, some group coaching that way. And that's also on my website. You can learn about that there, drkarthikramanan.com.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well, there you have it, guys. I think that's a wrap. What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a beautiful, well, it's not a wrap. It's the beginning, actually, of 2026.
We're unwrapping.
We're unwrapping.
Mm-hmm.
We're unwrapping 2025 into 2026. And I think into our a little bit about clarity, clarity in your identity is going to make 2026 less chaotic for everybody. That's my big takeaway out of this. Clarity in your identity will make 2026 less chaotic. So that's my big takeaway from all our talk, and we're going to keep working on that. So, but for the rest of you guys, again, if there's any questions, make sure to comment below, and we'll get to you. And we're super excited to keep going in 2026 with more exciting topics and and maybe have Dr. K back if we have a great topic to talk about. Maybe we halfway through the year, you know, how to end the year with a bang.
Yeah, if you guys want Dr. K back, go ahead and give us a like, give us a comment, let us know, and we'll have him back on the next one. So thanks everybody for listening and checking this out, and we will see you on the next one.